Chapter 716. Ignoring the Netherworld Great Emperor's angry roar, Longao still carried on his own way, and started a massacre. If it was in the past, Longao wouldn't be able to stop 20 great emperors even if he could teleport. However, the situation was completely different now. Ever since the 5 elements heaven-devouring art had merged with teleportation, the power of teleportation had doubled. Longao was confident that even 20 great emperors wouldn't be able to catch up to him. With the help of spatial teleportation, Longao went on a killing spree. In a short few minutes, he already killed several hundred people. What did this mean? Seeing Longao killing disciples one after another, the Netherworld Emperor became anxious. No matter how many disciples there were in the Nether Mansion, there were only a few outstanding ones. If they were all killed by Longao, it would hurt the foundation of the Nether Mansion. If the old ancestor found out about this, they would have to bear the consequences. Because of Longao, the old ancestor was already unhappy. At this moment, the Netherworld Emperor and the others could only look on helplessly. At this moment, the Netherworld Emperor and the others were furious to the extreme. They were like erupting volcanoes, unable to control themselves at all. The only solution was to dismiss everyone. In fact, the Netherworld Emperor didn't even need to say anything. The disciples of the Nether Mansion had already scattered. No one was afraid of death. Even so, Longao wouldn't give up so easily. After all, he had teleportation. In the blink of an eye, there were always a few disciples who died. Screams sounded one after another. In just a short while, the corpses on the ground were piled up like a mountain. However, Longao didn't stop and continued his massacre. "Longao, you're too presumptuous!" With a roar, an old man appeared out of thin air. Others might not recognize the old man, but how could the 20 great emperors not recognize him? He was the true #1 expert of the Nether Mansion, and also the soul of the Nether Mansion. Everyone knew that as long as the old ancestor was alive, the Nether Mansion would always be the #1 force in the spirit realm. It was a well-deserved title. Seeing the sudden appearance of the old man, Longao didn't continue his massacre. Instead, he stopped and stood in front of the soul-breaking tower. Warriors of the Supreme Tao. Sensing the divine Tao aura emanating from the other party, Longao was almost certain that the old man in front of him was the divine Tao martial artist overseeing the Nether Mansion that Tonglinger had mentioned. "Who are you? Longao, who do you think you are? You want to know the old ancestor's name? Trash!" Hearing Longao's words, Netherworld Emperor and the others were furious, but they were stopped by Wei Yang. He nodded and said with a smile, "My name is Wei Yang. Longao, I've heard of you a long time ago. In just a few years, you were able to rise to this level. You're really amazing." With the old ancestor personally expressing his admiration, everyone's understanding of Longao rose to a new height once again. The revered old ancestor of the serene Nether Mansion, Wei Yang, who was also a supreme Tao martial practitioner, was nothing in front of Longao. With a sneer, Longao said, "If you want to fight, then fight. What's with all the nonsense? Wei Yang, the grudge between me and the serene Nether Mansion will be completely settled today. However, I hope you can tell me where Tonglinger is." This battle was unavoidable. Since that was the case, there was no need to talk nonsense. However, the only thing that worried Longao was Tonglinger's safety. If it were the other 3 major forces, Longao wouldn't be worried at all. This was because in the Imperial City, the strongest experts of the 3rd grade Long family and the Ethereal Palace were only titled Great Emperors. There were no supreme Tao martial practitioners overseeing them. With Tonglinger's strength as a titled Great Emperor, she could come and go as she pleased. However, the situation in the serene Nether Mansion was completely different. Apart from the 20-odd Great Emperors, there were 2 titled Great Emperors. Not to mention the supreme Tao martial practitioners. If Tonglinger's whereabouts were discovered by the serene Nether Mansion, the result could be imagined. Who is Tonglinger? Wei Yang was very curious. He didn't know who this Tonglinger that Longao was talking about was. He looked at Yu Ming, and the meaning was clear. Yu Ming didn't dare to hide anything and sent a secret message to Wei Yang. After listening, the corner of Wei Yang's mouth twitched 3 times, but he quickly recovered. He snorted coldly and said, "The two of you trespassed into the serene nether mansion, stole the nether blood sea diagram, and killed the disciples of the serene nether mansion. Even if you die 1,000 times, it won't matter. Longao, I'll give you a chance. Hand over the nether blood sea diagram, and I'll let Tong Linger go. How about it?" Of course, Longao wouldn't believe it. Whether Tong Linger was in the hands of the serene nether mansion was the thing that Longao was most uncertain about. Since the situation was already like this, he couldn't care less. "You're still not willing to hand over the nether blood sea diagram? Since I have already obtained the nether blood sea diagram, the nether blood sea diagram belongs to me. If you want it back, then fight with me fairly. Otherwise, I would rather destroy it than hand it over to you." He glared fiercely at Yu Ming and Wei Mo. It was their fault for not keeping such a precious thing with them, but leaving it in the Breaking Soul Pavilion. It was always better to be safe than sorry. But now, what if it came? The Breaking Soul Pavilion's nether blood sea diagram was actually lost. Although Wei Yang was very clear that the seal on the nether blood sea diagram was very difficult to break, and even he couldn't do it, no matter what, the nether blood sea diagram was the most precious treasure of the serene nether mansion. It couldn't be lost. The two of them shuddered in fear. Neither of them dared to speak. No matter what, the old ancestor was in seclusion most of the time, and the serene nether mansion was actually handed over to them. But what was the result? "Longao, do you really think you can leave here alive?" Disdain. Disdain was written all over Wei Yang's face. In his opinion, Yifutian was only a puny heavenly saint. In his eyes, Yifutian was not even an ant. As long as he wanted to, he could destroy Yifutian at any time. In Wei Yang's opinion, Yifutian's calmness was only a manifestation of fear. Nonsense! How could Longao not know what Wei Yang was thinking in his heart? However, Longao was indeed very afraid of Yifutian. He sneered. "Wei Yang, you're bullying me with numbers. The serene nether mansion really isn't as impressive as its reputation suggests. I admire you." Hearing Longao's disdain, everyone's expression turned ugly. Wei Yang smiled and nodded. He said, "Longao, I'll give you a chance. Fight Wei Mo. If you can defeat him, I'll let you go. But if you can't, not only will you have to kill yourself here, but you will also have to hand over the nether blood sea diagram and tell me what happened at the bottom of the nether cliff." Hearing this, everyone laughed. No one believed that Longao was a match for Wei Mo. After all, the difference between the two was too great. They weren't on the same level at all. Wei Mo was a genuine titled Great Emperor, while Longao was only a puny heavenly saint. It was like a child wanting to fight with an adult. Could it succeed? Chapter 717. Thank you, old ancestor. Wei Mo took a step forward and stared at the young man in front of him. The grudge of his son's death was irreconcilable. Wei Mo couldn't wait to tear the culprit of his son's death into pieces. 2 great Emperor realm elders had killed his son? Regardless of whether others believed it or not, Wei Mo would never believe it. Although he didn't know how Longao did it, Wei Mo knew very well and insisted on his son's body. After a preliminary check, Wei Mo finally realized that something was amiss. Wei Mo realized that his son's soul didn't exist. It was like a corpse that was being controlled. Corpse slave? Wei Mo had heard about the corpse slave army of the dragon sect. Could it be that his son had been refined into a corpse slave by Longao? Thinking of this, Wei Mo became even more furious. The most hateful thing was that his son had been refined into a corpse slave. He didn't recognize anyone and would kill anyone he saw. Moreover, he had an immortal body. In the end, he had no choice but to kill his son personally. "Longao, you killed my son! Today, I will take back this grudge." "So you already know?" Humph. Longao didn't have the slightest bit of fear. Everyone in the surroundings began to slowly retreat, surrounding both sides tightly in the middle, forming a martial arts arena. Wei Yang had personally promised that once Longao won this battle, he would be able to leave smoothly. Therefore, this battle couldn't be lost. The two of them didn't continue to talk nonsense, and stared at each other. At this moment, both Wei Mo and Longao moved at the same time. Both of them were very fast. In the blink of an eye, they were already engaged in a fierce battle. Great emperors were great emperors after all. Moreover, Wei Mo was a titled great emperor. In just 3 moves he had already gained the upper hand and forced Longao to retreat. Not daring to be careless, Longao used spatial teleportation and disappeared from the spot. In the next second, he appeared behind Wei Mo teleportation. Longao was constantly changing his body, causing Wei Mo to be extremely depressed. What he was afraid of was really happening. Wei Mo really could not understand how Longao, a mere heavenly saint, could be so powerful. Just this teleportation ability alone was something that even the elder ancestor could not do, let alone him. Left with no choice, Wei Mo could only revolve his body around himself. Both of his palms moved at the same time, and the shadows of his palms filled the sky, constantly attacking the figures that appeared in all directions. From afar, the battle between the two seemed to have reached its climax. The sky was filled with countless palm shadows. It was impossible to see who was who. With this child's talent, let alone the 9 prefectures, even in the entire martial heaven continent, he would be one of the top existences. It's a pity that he was wasted in a small Long family. If this child entered a Long family, his future would be limitless. Even if Wei Yang didn't want to admit Longao's talent, he had to. A person who had just broken through to the mid-heavenly saint realm could fight with a titled great emperor for so long. Even if this child lost this battle, it would be a glorious defeat. Nodding his head in agreement, Yu Ming sighed and said, Longao is too conspicuous. In just a few years, although he has already risen strongly, he has shed all pretense of cordiality with the 4 major forces at the same time. Even if we don't kill him, it will be very difficult for him to continue living. In Wei Yang and Yu Ming's hearts, they were certain that Longao would lose. Elder ancestor, if we kill Longao, will the Long family come to find trouble with us? The Long family was one of the strongest powers in the world. Although the Nether Mansion was very strong, it was like an ant compared to the Long family. Yu Ming was very worried. No matter what, Longao was still a disciple of the Long family. No one knew what the Long family meant. However, under normal circumstances, if Longao dared to create the dragon sect, the Long family would have sent experts to kill him. But what was the result? Ever since Longao created the dragon sect, the Long family had never said anything. Because of this, no one knew what the Long family was thinking. Everyone was guessing what the Long family's attitude towards Longao was. When the Long family was mentioned, Wei Yang's expression instantly turned cold. Back then, our Nether Mansion was restricted. For so many years, we have been unable to dominate the spirit realm of the 9 states. If we offend the Long family, we will be in trouble. After thinking for a while, Wei Yang suddenly said, As long as we block the news, no one will know who killed Longao. When the time comes, even if the news of Longao's death reaches the Long family's ears, the Long family won't be able to do anything to us without solid evidence. Would it really be fine? Yu Ming didn't know. However, things had already reached this point. They had to kill Longao. As the saying went, if you cut the grass without removing the roots, it would grow again when the spring breeze blew. Longao's talent was there. Once Longao grew, no one knew what the result would be. Longao, who was fighting, used spatial teleportation to constantly change his position. The Divine Dragon Arm and the Nether Tiger Arm ruthlessly smashed out punch after punch, creating countless fist shadows. Longao also chose to meet force with force, supporting Wei Mo's fist shadows. If it was an ordinary person, how could they meet force with a titled Great Emperor? However, Longao's fists were incomparably strong. Even so, Longao was gradually unable to hold on. A dragon's roar sounded. Immediately after, a huge dragon's shadow appeared behind Longao. Before Wei Mo could react, his body was immediately locked down. The surrounding space even started to flow in reverse. Innate ability, Dragon's Roar. If it was someone else, they might not recognize this innate ability. However, how could Wei Yang and Yu Ming not recognize it? It was precisely because of this that the two of them were even more shocked. They had already heard that Longao had not only become a dragon martial artist, but he had also awakened his bloodline and reproduced his own innate ability. Forefather. Waving his hand, Wei Yang's expression was very solemn as he said, "Innate ability. It seems like this child's background is not simple. Regardless of who wins the battle between this child and Wei Mo today, this child will definitely die." Yu Ming nodded. How could he not know what the forefather meant? To be able to awaken his bloodline and reproduce his innate ability, it was obvious that it had something to do with Long family. As everyone knew, only by entering the ancestral hall of the Long family would one have the opportunity to awaken their bloodline and reproduce their innate ability. Not everyone could enter the ancestral hall of the Long family. The fact that Longao could enter the ancestral hall of the Long family was enough to prove his identity. The two of them guessed that even though Longao was a disciple of the Long family of the Scarlet Fire Town, his identity might not be simple. The two of them even suspected that Longao might be a disciple of the Long family. It was just that he had left his family for some reason. Chapter 7:18. Both of them knew that if Longao was really a disciple of the Long family, they would be in big trouble. Because of this, both of them decided that no matter what happened, Longao had to die. Wei Mo realized that his body was locked down, and the flow of time around him had changed. He was shocked and immediately attacked. Longao's realm was still too low. Otherwise, Longao would be able to kill all the cultivators of the same realm. Attack! Old Ancestor, they haven't decided the victor yet. Hearing the Old Ancestor's words, Yu Ming was shocked. Just now, the Old Ancestor personally promised that the two of them would fight. As long as Longao could win, he could leave smoothly. Although they had already decided that no matter what the result was, Longao would definitely die, the battle hadn't ended. However, the battle between the two had yet to end. If he chose to make a move at this time, wouldn't he be slapping his own face? Yu Ming didn't know what was going on with the Old Ancestor. Could Longao really defeat Wei Mo? Regardless of whether others believed it or not, he didn't believe it. This lad is too unpredictable. Although he's not Wei Mo's match, it's impossible for Wei Mo to kill him. Wei Yang's worries were groundless. According to the difference in strength between Longao and Wei Mo, Longao would definitely lose or even be killed if the battle dragged on. After all, the difference in realm couldn't be made up for by other things. However, Longao's secret dealt a heavy blow to Wei Yang. Because of this, Wei Yang started to panic. Yu Ming already knew what the Old Ancestor was thinking. Without any hesitation, he took a big step forward. In the blink of an eye, Yu Ming and Wei Mo joined forces and Longao's pressure instantly increased. What a despicable and shameless Netherhell mansion! Seeing the Netherhell Emperor suddenly attacking, the surrounding people couldn't wrap their heads around it. No one had expected the Netherhell Emperor to suddenly attack. Wouldn't this mean that their side would go back on their word first? Although everyone present was unhappy about the sect's actions, no one dared to say anything. After all, once this matter spread out, the Netherhell mansion would lose all face. When two titled Great Emperors joined forces, it wasn't as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Longao originally wanted to continue fighting with Wei Mo, but things had already developed to this stage. If he continued to stay, only death would await him. Longao never imagined that the Netherworld Great Emperor would suddenly intervene in this matter. The Nether Mansion was truly shameless to the extreme. Longao countered with a palm strike, followed by his innate ability, Dragon Roar. Without lingering any longer, Longao continuously used spatial teleportation. After a short while, Longao disappeared without a trace. Netherworld Great Emperor and Wei Mo Great Emperor didn't just sit there and wait for their death. They immediately chased after Longao. They had already lost their face. They couldn't let Longao run away again. If that was the case, they would suffer a double loss. No one is allowed to spread what happened today. Those who violate this order will be killed without mercy. Who would dare to disobey the old ancestor's order? Longao left at his fastest speed, completely ignoring the two titled great emperors behind him. However, at this moment, a person suddenly appeared in front of him. It was none other than the number one expert of the Netherhell Mansion, Wei Yang. Change direction. Longao didn't fight Wei Yang head-on. Although he was very confident in his strength, Longao still had a trace of self-awareness. Not to mention fighting against a Divine Realm expert, he wasn't even a match for a great emperor. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to escape. The Netherhell Mansion looked very limited, but the entire valley was boundless. One couldn't see the end of it. It was also Longao's first time entering the Netherhell Mansion. Of course, he didn't know the layout of the Netherhell Mansion. Unknowingly, Longao had already arrived at the exit. His luck was too good. Looking at the exit in front of him, Longao never thought that his luck would be so good. This was because he had never thought that he would arrive at the exit in a daze. It seemed that even the heavens were helping him. In that case, he wouldn't be polite. Soon, Longao discovered that something was wrong. This was because he could clearly sense that there were 3 terrifying Great Emperor auras at the exit. Without a doubt, the Netherhell Mansion had already placed 3 Great Emperor cultivators at the exit. There were 3 Great Emperor cultivators guarding the exit. Not only were there 2 Great Emperors behind him, but there was also a Divine Realm expert chasing after him. It could be said that there was a wolf in front and a tiger behind. In other words, no matter if he forced his way in or retreated, only death would await him. Longao cursed fiercely. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. This was because other than forcing his way in or retreating, there didn't seem to be a third option. How should he choose? After thinking about it, Longao finally decided to force his way in. The reason was very simple. Of the 3 people chasing after him, 2 were titled Great Emperors, and 1 was a Divine Realm expert. Could he fight against such a combination of strength? Before the person arrived, Longao had already slashed out with his saber. Just as Longao had sensed, ever since the incident at the Nether Cliff, the Netherhell Emperor had directly sealed off all the exits. The exit that Longao had arrived at had 3 Great Emperor cultivators guarding it. The 3 Great Emperor cultivators who were chatting suddenly felt the saber light's aura and were startled. They didn't know what had happened. Looking at the figure that suddenly shot over, the 3 Great Emperor cultivators seemed to have guessed something. They were pleasantly surprised. After searching for 3 days, they still couldn't find him. If the 3 of them could kill Longao, wouldn't they have done a great service? Thinking of this, the 3 Great Emperors were about to attack when they were shocked to find that the figure that was shooting towards them had suddenly disappeared. That's right, disappeared. Disappeared into thin air? The 3 Great Emperors stared blankly in front of them. In a short while, Wei Yang and the other 2 arrived. Where is he? The 3 Great Emperors were startled when they saw the old ancestor coming out of seclusion. They didn't dare to hide anything and told the old ancestor everything that had happened. After listening to the story, the 3 Great Emperors' faces were extremely gloomy. Of course, the 3 of them knew how Longao had done it. Chase after him. No matter what happens today, we must kill him. Remember, bring back the Nether Blood Sea map for me. Yes, old ancestor. The Netherhell Emperor, Great Emperor Wei Mo and the others didn't dare to be careless. They immediately led a total of 30 Great Emperors and chased after Longao. Just as Wei Yang had said, since things had come to this point, they definitely couldn't let go of Longao. Without a doubt, the reason why Longao could disappear in an instant and go around the 3 Great Emperors was very simple. It was with the help of spatial teleportation. One had to admit that Longao's spatial teleportation was very powerful. Especially after fusing the 5 elemental arts, its power had reached a new level. P.S. 30,000 words first. If everyone works hard, I'll update 10,000 words later. If everyone works hard, Little 9 will write 60,000 words today. Chapter 719. After leaving the serene dark mansion, Longao let out a long sigh of relief. Longao knew very well that it was all thanks to his spatial teleportation that he was able to leave this place. It was hard to imagine that he would be able to leave this place so easily without the 5 elements heaven-devouring art. "Longao, you're not dead?" Longao heard someone calling out to him as soon as he left. He turned around and was pleasantly surprised. "Let's go." Longao was relieved to see that Tonglinga was fine. However, they couldn't chat in the current situation. After all, there were pursuers behind them. Longao was certain that the serene dark mansion wouldn't let them off so easily. Therefore, the two of them left at their fastest speed. As soon as they left, the Netherworld Emperor and the others arrived. "Uncle, what should we do?" Wei Mo looked left and right. Everyone knew that with their speed, it was impossible for them to catch up with Longao. Just thinking about it made them feel sullen. They were great emperors, but they couldn't even catch up with a puny heavenly saint. It was really embarrassing. Until now, no one could figure out how the other party did it. Spatial teleportation, such a divine ability, did it really exist in this world? If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would have believed it. Netherworld's face was also extremely ugly. This was the first time something like this had happened since the establishment of the Serene Dark Mansion. After thinking for a while, Netherworld said, "We'll split into 8 groups, 4 people in each group. Remember, no matter who it is, kill Longao without mercy if you encounter him. If you can't find him, we'll meet up at the Longao Peak. Understood?" "Understood." This time, the two of them brought a total of 30 great emperors. This was a terrifying number. Including the Netherworld Emperor and Emperor Wei Mo, there were exactly 32 people. If they split into 8 groups, there would be exactly 4 people in each group. The Netherworld Emperor and Emperor Wei Mo weren't together. Just like that, 32 great emperors began to chase after Longao from different directions. There was no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. The Serene Dark Mansion originally wanted to keep the news a secret. After all, this wasn't a glorious matter. Once the news spread, the Serene Dark Mansion would lose all face. However, it was unknown who leaked the news. In just one short day, the news that Longao had wreaked havoc in the Nether Mansion, stole their treasures, killed more than 100 people, and left without a hitch had spread throughout the entire spirit realm of the 9 prefectures. With this, Longao became even more famous. Until now, everyone was still trying to guess what realm Longao's strength had reached. According to the fact that the Nether Mansion had sent experts to hunt him down, Longao had chosen to run away. Under normal circumstances, Longao's cultivation shouldn't have broken through to the Great Emperor realm. If Longao had not broken through to the Emperor realm, he would have dared to do so. How arrogant! In the next second, the news that the Nether Mansion had sent out 32 great emperors, including the Netherworld Great Emperor and Great Emperor Wei Mo, had spread throughout the entire spirit realm. Everyone who heard the news turned pale with fright. Everyone knew what the 32 great emperors represented. It seemed that the serene underworld mansion was truly furious this time. 32 great emperors, no matter where it was a super force that couldn't be ignored. If the Nether Mansion wanted to kill Longao might be able to stop them. The other 3 forces, the rank 3 Long family, Ethereal Palace, and Imperial City, ignored the battle between the Nether Mansion and Longao. Although the battle between the Nether Mansion and Longao was a little sudden, the 3 forces were very happy to see it. As the saying went, watch the fire from the other side of the river. The more intense the battle between the Nether Mansion and Longao, the better it would be for both sides to suffer. Only then would they be able to reap the benefits. The 3 forces were very happy just thinking about it. Rank 3 Long family, main hall. Old ancestor, we don't know if the battle between Longao and the Nether Mansion is real or fake. After all, Longao is unpredictable and unpredictable. Nodding, Longyang picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip. Putting down the teacup, Longyang said, "This matter is indeed a little strange. Longao is not a fool. He wouldn't provoke the Nether Mansion at this time. Everyone knew that Longao had offended a Divine Realm martial artist, and even Longao Peak had chosen to give up. It was precisely because of this that everyone couldn't figure out what was wrong with Longao. Why couldn't something have happened earlier or later? Why did it have to happen at this time? Long Maoan thought for a while and said, Ancestor, Longao seems to be a reckless person, but he is actually very smart. Previously, when he formed an alliance with the Imperial City's vitality was greatly damaged. This time, he won't repeat the same mistake, right? Waving his hand, Longyang said, I've already sent people to ask. It's impossible. The Nether Mansion sent out 32 great emperors, including Yu Ming himself. It seems like both sides are really angry this time. I just don't understand why Longao and the Nether Mansion would go to war for no reason. Old Ancestor, according to the rumors, Longao killed the young master of the Nether Mansion, Wei Batian. Is this true? Long Yen nodded and said, Yes. If that's the case, then all the mysteries are solved. You may not know, but Wei Mo liked Wei Batian very much. Moreover, Wei Batian was killed by Longao in the Nether Mansion. Not to mention the Nether Mansion, I believe no one would be able to accept this. So that was it. Long Yen and Long Moran asked at the same time. Old Ancestor, what should we do now? The Nether Mansion and Longao had already started the war, and no one knew the final result. If it was a year ago, the two of them were 100% sure that Longao would be defeated without a doubt, and the Nether Mansion would also win. But now, the two of them were muttering because they were not sure of who would win the war between the Nether Mansion and Longao, because Longao was too unpredictable. Long Yang, of course, knew what the two of them were thinking. He lowered his head and pondered for a while. At this time, Long Yang raised his head and said, Let's wait and see. Let's see how the Imperial City and the Ethereal Palace will react. Old Ancestor, without a doubt, I can say that the Imperial City and the Ethereal Palace will definitely watch the fight from the other side. When the time comes and Longao and the Nether Mansion are fighting to the death, the Imperial City and the Ethereal Palace will come out to clean up the mess. Without guessing, Long Morwen could roughly guess the Imperial City and the Ethereal Palace's intentions. Because he knew the Imperial City and the Ethereal Palace too well. After so many years of fighting, it was not for nothing. In that case, we will also watch the fight from the other side. If the Imperial City and the Ethereal Palace don't move, we won't move either. I want to see who will win in the end. Understood. Long Yen and Long Morwen looked at each other and saw a trace of happiness in each other's eyes. No matter what, Longao was dead, and the big stone in their hearts was finally lifted. Chapter 720. Spirit Region of the 9 States Somewhere. Longao, what exactly happened to you during this period of time? Longao couldn't accept Tong Linger's concern for him, but he didn't want to hurt a girl who liked him. Since that was the case, Longao did not try to hide anything. He briefly recounted what had happened in the serene underworld mansion. Longao said it simply, but Tong Linger knew how dangerous it was for Longao. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I thought the Nether Blood Sea diagram would help you. She smiled. Longao shrugged and said, I have to thank you? You're thanking me? Yes, I'm very grateful to you. As for why, I don't want to say. You just need to know. Longao was indeed very grateful to Tong Linger. He wasn't lying about this. Longao didn't just obtain the Nether Blood Sea diagram in the Serene Dark Mansion, he also obtained another Chaos Stone tablet. Although the two Chaos Stone tablets collided and could explode at any time, it would be a lie to say that he didn't want the other Chaos Stone tablet. Just as Long Fu said, if he could merge both Chaos Stone tablets at the same time, his martial path would reach a whole new level, although the process was very dangerous. How did you get out? Although Tong Linger's strength was obvious, Longao was still very curious about how she left the Serene Dark Mansion. After you left the Soul-Breaking Pavilion, everyone chased after you, and I was also discovered. However, the two titled Great Emperors of the Serene Dark Mansion weren't with me, so. Although Tong Linger didn't finish her words, the meaning in her words was very clear. Since things had reached this point, Longao didn't continue asking. Longao, the Serene Dark Mansion clearly doesn't want to let us go this time. What should we do? This was indeed a big problem. Longao had also heard rumors that the Serene Dark Mansion had sent 32 great emperors. What kind of concept was this? Tong Linger, the Nether Mansion's target is me, not you. Let's split up. Before Tong Linger could say anything, Longao continued. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to come out so smoothly. Sighing deeply, Tong Linger nodded and said, Be careful. Remember one thing. If you don't leave me, I will be by your side in life and death. You. Without waiting for Longao to speak, Tong Linger had already left. In the blink of an eye, she had already disappeared without a trace. Longao shrugged helplessly. Regarding Tong Linger's matter, Longao had a headache. It was clearly Yu Yin who said a few words to him, but Tong Linger refused to let go. What should he do? He had clearly rejected her, so why was Tong Linger still insisting? There was no other way. Longao didn't continue to dwell on this matter. After all, the Serene Dark Mansion had sent out 32 Emperor Realm experts. It seemed like the Serene Dark Mansion wouldn't give up until they found him. What should he do? Longao had already guessed that if the Serene Dark Mansion couldn't find him, they would definitely head to the Longao Peak. If that was the case, Longao wasn't too worried. No matter what, although the sect was still at the Longao Peak, it had moved from the surface to the underground. Even Yi Wuxuan couldn't find it back then, let alone the Serene Dark Mansion. Now that he had completely fallen out with the Serene Dark Mansion, it was indeed troublesome to face 32 Emperor Realm experts at the same time. What a surprise attack! Longao had a rough understanding of the Serene Dark Mansion's situation. If nothing unexpected happened, the Serene Dark Mansion would send out 32 Emperor Realm experts. Longao was certain that the Serene Dark Mansion had sent out 32 Emperor Realm experts. He believed that even if the Serene Dark Mansion still had Emperor Realm experts, there would be no more than 3. There were no titled Great Emperors because the only 2 titled Great Emperors, Emperor Wei Mo and the Netherworld Emperor, had come out to kill him. There was only one problem now, and that was Wei Yang. Longao wasn't confident he could fight a god, but if he didn't give the Serene Dark Mansion some pressure, they wouldn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He had to take a gamble. Because of this, Longao didn't go anywhere and headed straight for the Serene Dark Mansion. Longao was a little speechless as soon as he stepped into Nether City in disguise. At this moment, everyone in Nether City was talking about him. Longao went around Serene Dark Mansion and entered Hell Valley. The black fog lingered. Although it was Longao's second time entering, he was still very careful. He was fully alert and did not dare to be careless in the slightest. Longao didn't go anywhere after entering the Serene Dark Mansion. The first place he went was Hell Cliff. That was because Longao already knew what sort of place the Netherworld Cliff was. The Nether Cliff was a forbidden area of the Nether Mansion. Anyone who could cultivate in the Nether Cliff was one of the most outstanding disciples of the Nether Mansion. Since the Nether Mansion refused to let him go, there was no need for him to be courteous. Longao didn't even wait for the hundreds of Serene Dark Mansion disciples to react before they were slaughtered. 1, 2, 3, one after the other. With Longao's power, slaughtering the Serene Dark Mansion disciples was a walk in the park. In a few minutes, Hell Cliff's hundreds of disciples were all dead. But this time, Longao learned from his mistakes. After killing them all, Longao kicked 10 of them off Hell Cliff. After settling everything, Longao swaggered off. From the start to the end, no one discovered what had happened. Hell Cliff was deserted. Under normal circumstances, Hell Cliff, as Serene Dark Mansion's forbidden area and a cultivation holy land, should be packed with people, at least 100. But now, it was empty. For a short period of time, the Serene Nether Mansion did not notice anything amiss. It was only on the second day that the serene nether mansion gradually realized something was amiss. Not only that. In just one day, the serene underworld mansion lost many disciples. At this moment, the mansion lord, Great Emperor Wei Mo, Netherworld Great Emperor, and the remaining great emperors all left the serene underworld mansion. Just as Longao had guessed, the Netherworld mansion had sent out a total of 32 Great Emperor Realm cultivators, leaving only 2 Great Emperor Realm cultivators to guard the Netherworld Great Emperor. As for whether the Supreme Dao cultivator Wei Yang was present, it was unknown. Inside Breaking Soul Tower, Longao still believed that the most dangerous place was also the safest place. This was the third time he had entered the Breaking Soul Tower. He didn't believe that the Serene Hades Mansion would be able to guess that he was in the Serene Hades Mansion when the 32 Great Emperors weren't around. Unless it was Wei Yang, but for some reason, Longao's intuition told him that Wei Yang wasn't in the Serene Hades Mansion. Chapter 721. Just as Longao had guessed, Wei Yang wasn't in the Serene Underworld Mansion. This way, Longao could be considered to have picked up a huge bargain. The 2 great emperors that were left behind were no match for Longao. It wasn't a battle of strength, but a battle of wits. Longao had been in the Serene Underworld Mansion for 5 days, but the 2 great emperors still didn't know what had happened. However, the number of disciples in the Serene Underworld Mansion was decreasing every day. What had happened? No one knew what had happened in the Serene Underworld Mansion. The disciples seemed to have disappeared into thin air as if they had seen a ghost. Actually, it wasn't that the 2 great emperors weren't smart enough. It was just that the 2 great emperors had never thought that Longao, who had already left, would suddenly come back. It was because they did not think of Longao that the 2 great emperors did not know what had happened from the beginning to the end. In 5 days, Longao had killed thousands of disciples in the Serene Underworld Mansion. What did that mean? What was worse was that Longao had never killed ordinary disciples. He only targeted the most outstanding disciples, protectors, and elders. He didn't even consider those below the Sky Saint realm. Therefore, Longao never missed. It could be said that he never missed. 9 prefectures, Longao Peak. 5 days later, the 32 great emperors gathered at Longao Peak. Of course, the 32 great emperors already knew about the situation in the dragon sect. However, it was too difficult to find a single person in the vast 9 prefectures. "Uncle, are we going to give up just like that?" Wei Mo was furious. He couldn't wait to kill Longao. First of all, Longao had killed his son. Secondly, as the mansion master, he had the greatest responsibility for Longao causing havoc in the Serene Underworld Mansion. However, Longao had disappeared. It was indeed difficult to find him. Before the Netherworld Emperor could speak, he received a message. After reading it, the Netherworld Emperor's expression was extremely ugly. The murderous aura around him was so strong that it seemed to have materialized. Everyone was surprised. They didn't know what had happened to the Netherworld Emperor. "Uncle, what happened?" "I don't know why, but the sect has lost thousands of disciples." "What the hell happened?" Everyone was shocked. Especially Wei Mo. As the mansion master of the Serene Underworld Mansion, he was naturally the most concerned about this matter. Shaking his head, the Netherworld said solemnly, "I don't know. Anyway, the sect's disciples have been decreasing every day for 5 days, including the protectors, there." This news caused everyone to be completely confused. That was because no one knew exactly what had happened. "Uncle, do you think it could be Longao?" "Impossible, Longao doesn't have the guts to do that." "Not only Yu Ming, the others also didn't believe that Longao had done that." "What a joke! Unless Longao had lost his mind, he would never have entered the Serene Hell University. If it was him, would he do the same?" However, Wei Mo did not know why, but in his heart, he always felt that this matter was very likely done by Longao, because the world was too coincidental. This kind of thing did not come earlier or later, but just had to come at this time. "Uncle, we can't think of Longao normally. If I'm not wrong, he should already know that we're going to deal with him. Longao might come back and catch us off guard. The Netherworld Emperor still didn't believe it. Longao wasn't a fool. He had escaped from the serene underworld mansion with great difficulty. There was no way he would go back. If he was trapped in the serene underworld mansion, he wouldn't be so stupid. If Longao was a divine way martial artist, maybe he would still believe that Longao would make a comeback. But was Longao qualified enough? Did he have the guts? Uncle, it's better to be safe than sorry. If Longao really comes back and the old ancestor isn't in the serene underworld mansion, I'm afraid it's just the two elders. Although Wei Mo didn't finish his words, his meaning was clear. Everyone lowered their heads and pondered. Just like what Wei Mo thought, it was better to be safe than sorry. If this was really Longao's doing, it would be very difficult to deal with. This person could fight with Wei Mo and escape from the joint attack of two titled Great Emperors. This already proved his strength. He might not be able to deal with great emperors, but it was more than enough to deal with ordinary disciples. What do you mean? Uncle, it's very simple. I will return to the sect alone. Whether this is really Longao's doing or not, the sect needs someone to guard it. As for Uncle, you will continue to pursue Longao. If we split up, I believe we can achieve twice the result with half the effort. All right. Just like that, Wei Mo left and returned to the serene underworld mansion. The remaining great emperors were led by the Netherworld Emperor to continue pursuing Longao. Serene underworld mansion. Forbidden grounds, broken soul tower. After killing hundreds of people, Longao leaned against the wall of the tower. No one knew what he was thinking. A supreme Dao martial artist? Ever since he entered the serene underworld mansion, Longao hadn't thought about it properly. According to Tonglinger, the serene underworld mansion was definitely the strongest among the four great forces of the Nine States spirit domain. Longao didn't doubt this point. No matter what, the serene underworld mansion had a supreme Dao martial artist. This point alone was enough to defeat the Imperial City, Rank 3 Long Family, and Ethereal Palace. However, there was one thing that made Longao curious, and that was Tonglinger. Not only was Tonglin Pavilion strong, but they also had a powerful backer. If that was the case, Tonglinger could use her backer to deal with the serene underworld mansion. But what was the result? Tonglinger seemed to be afraid of the serene underworld mansion. Was she really afraid of a supreme Dao martial artist? Not to mention the sect behind her, Tonglinger's master alone was enough to kill Wei Yang thousands of times. Because of this, Longao felt that something was wrong. It seemed that the serene underworld mansion wasn't so simple. Longao still didn't understand. Who was restricting the serene underworld mansion? Why couldn't they deal with the other three great forces? Longao knew very well that to restrict the serene underworld mansion, it had to be at least a supreme Dao martial artist. If that was the case, who could it be? After thinking about it, Longao felt that the serene underworld mansion was very strange. He didn't know whether he was too sensitive, or there was something wrong with the serene underworld mansion. Although Longao didn't say it explicitly, he had already begun to suspect Tonglinger. His intuition told him that there was something wrong with her. Longao didn't know where the problem was. Therefore, he decided that after leaving the serene underworld mansion, he must find Tonglinger and have a good talk about the serene underworld mansion. Chapter 722. Wei Mo successfully returned to the serene underworld mansion. As soon as he returned, he immediately looked for the two great emperors to understand the current situation. After listening to them, Wei Mo's face turned extremely gloomy. It turned out that the sect had lost more than 3,000 disciples in just 10 days. This was a huge blow to the sect. No matter what others thought, Wei Mo was certain that this had something to do with Longao. For so many years, nothing had happened to the sect. But now, not long after Longao left, such a thing happened to the sect. If it was said that it had nothing to do with Longao, he would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. Passed down the order to seal off all the exits. I'd like to see how Longao is going to leave today. Longao? The two great emperors were familiar with Longao. However, they did not believe that this was Longao's doing. Was it possible? Unless there was something wrong with Longao's brain, there was no way he would return to the serene underworld mansion. Go! Since the mansion master had given the order, the two great emperors could only do as they were told. Just like that, the serene underworld mansion sealed off all the exits. Of course, the disciples of the serene underworld mansion knew what had happened. Serene underworld city. In a luxurious restaurant. Longao was drinking alone as he sneered in his heart. Longao was not a fool. After knowing that Wei Mo had returned to the serene underworld mansion, he immediately left. In other words, Wei Mo's attempt to seal off the serene underworld mansion was in vain. As expected. 3 days later. Wei Mo's face was extremely gloomy. After searching for 3 whole days, he still could not find Longao. Could it be that this was not Longao's doing? What happened? Wei Mo was shocked when he saw the old ancestor. However, since things had already come to this point, Wei Mo did not hide anything and told the old ancestor everything. After hearing this, Wei Yang fell into deep thought. After thinking for a long time, Wei Yang raised his head and waved his hand. This matter should have nothing to do with Longao. He's not a fool. It's not worth it to put himself in danger just to kill a few of us. Ancestor, if it's not Longao, then who could it be? I know who it is. For so many years, we've always been obedient and never dared to disobey, but we still can't escape. As the mansion master of the Nether Mansion, Wei Mo naturally knew what the old ancestor meant. However, he did not dare to say anything. After all, he had no say in this matter. Even the old ancestor had no say in this matter. Ancestor, what should we do now? Don't worry about it. You just need to deal with Longao. Understood. Many people in Nether City were puzzled by the sudden lockdown of the Nether Mansion twice in 10 days. This had never happened in the Nether Mansion in the past 10 years. Could something big have happened? Soon, the news of the Nether Mansion spread throughout the spirit realm of the 9 states. In the Imperial City, the Long family and the Ethereal Palace were shocked. They did not know what had happened to the Nether Mansion. Why would it be locked down twice in 10 days? Of course, the 3 forces knew why the Nether Mansion was locked down the first time. Longao had caused a ruckus in the Nether Mansion. In order to hunt down Longao, the Nether Mansion had planned to lock him up and beat him up. In the end, the Longao had escaped. If that was the case, why would the Nether Mansion lock down the second time? Was Longao trapped in the Nether Mansion again? That did not seem very likely. Since that was the case, the 3 forces could not figure out what was going on with the Nether Mansion. Why would they lock down the Nether Mansion? The 4 forces had always been fighting openly and secretly. Of course, the 3 forces wanted to know what had happened to the Nether Mansion. If an ordinary person were to ask around, they would not be able to find out anything. That was why. The Imperial City's old ancestor Shenhe, the Long family's old ancestor Longyang, and the Ethereal Palace's old ancestor Wei Lin, the 3 titled Great Emperors rushed to the Nether Mansion at the same time. They wanted to know what the Nether Mansion was doing. The 3 titled unrivaled Great Emperors could be said to be the strongest in the 9 states. At least on the surface. Among the 4 forces, the Nether Mansion was secretly the strongest. The other 3 forces did not know about this. The 3 of them only knew that in the Nether Mansion, only Yu Ming was a titled Great Emperor. As for the others, they did not care about them at all. When they stepped into the Nether Mansion and saw the titled Great Emperor in front of them, their expressions changed completely. The person standing in front of them was not Yu Ming, but the mansion master of the Nether Mansion, Wei Mo. Could it be that Wei Mo had officially broken through to the titled Great Emperor realm? Thinking of this, the 3 of them felt their hearts skip a beat. They knew very well what it meant to have a titled Great Emperor in the Serene Underworld Mansion. From now on, the Serene Underworld Mansion would have 2 titled Great Emperors. Their strength would skyrocket instantly. They cursed in their hearts. However, After knowing that Wei Mo had broken through to the titled Great Emperor realm, their attitudes took a 180-degree turn. May I know why the three of you suddenly came to my nether mansion? Looking at the three of them, Wei Mo sneered in his heart. How could Wei Mo not know the purpose of their visit? From the beginning to the end, Wei Mo did not care about the three of them. After all, the sect's strength was obvious. Just the old ancestor alone could easily eliminate the three forces. According to the Nether Mansion's previous intention, they would not reveal their strength unless it was absolutely necessary. As for Wei Mo, he was already a titled Great Emperor, but he had concealed his strength for such a long time. The purpose of the three titled Great Emperors' visit was obvious. Without any other choice, Wei Mo could only reveal his strength. The three of them smiled bitterly in their hearts. In the distance, Longao, who was hiding in the dark, despised both sides. Especially the three of them. When they saw the Nether Mansion being sealed twice, they thought that something had happened to the Nether Mansion and wanted to take advantage of the situation. Now they were scared stiff. How laughable! Longao knew that Emperor Wei Mo and Divine Dao Wei Yang had already returned to the Nether Mansion. It was impossible for him to enter the Nether Mansion. If that was the case, there was no point in staying. However, Longao was still unwilling to leave the spirit domain of the 9 states. The spirit domain of the 9 states had 4 major forces: the East Royal City, the West Third Grade Long Family, the South Nether Mansion, and the North Ethereal Palace. Longao had fallen out with the 4 major forces. If it wasn't for the fact that the 4 major forces had their own plans and were afraid of the other party taking advantage of them, the dragon sect wouldn't be so relaxed. Moreover, it was a very special situation for the dragon sect. The reason was simple. Longao had already given more than 1,000 divine Dao inheritances to everyone. Now, the entire dragon sect was in seclusion to cultivate and refine the divine Dao inheritances. The fastest would take 3 to 5 years, while the slowest would take 10 years. Therefore, the dragon sect would not appear during this period. Chapter 723. Longao did not linger. With his current strength, it was impossible for him to shake the foundations of the 4 major forces. Since that was the case, the best way was to take action when necessary and avoid when necessary. Just as Longao was about to leave, he suddenly sensed an aura. If it was someone else's aura, Longao would have ignored it and left directly. However, Longao was very familiar with this aura. Tonglinger? Longao was very curious because he did not know why Tonglinger would appear in the Serene Underworld Mansion at this time. Ever since the incident in the Serene Underworld Mansion, Longao had been very suspicious of Tonglinger. Longao was about to leave, but after sensing Tonglinger's aura, he immediately locked onto it and followed silently. Tonglinger did not enter the Serene Underworld Mansion. Instead, she stopped in front of a mountain near the Serene Underworld Mansion. After glancing at the huge mountain in front of her, Tonglinger quickly left. Longao did not hesitate at all. With Long Fu's help, he was very confident that Tonglinger would not be able to discover his whereabouts. After all, it was with Long Fu's help that Longao's gloomy aura could not be discovered even by the heavenly Tao. One could imagine how powerful Long Fu's hidden aura was. Longao followed behind Tonglinger all the way to the mountain. Both of them were extremely fast. In a short while, the two of them had arrived at the peak of the mountain. Longao did not dare to get too close. He just watched from afar. Wei Yang! Looking at Wei Yang, who had been waiting for a long time, Longao instantly understood everything. If he was not mistaken, Tonglinger and Wei Yang knew each other before. It seemed that entering the Serene Underworld Mansion this time was a trap. If Tonglinger wanted to harm him, why would she help him? Why didn't she attack him directly? All of this confused Longao. He had no idea why Tonglinger would do this. In the distance, at the peak of the mountain, Wei Yang of Nether Mansion greets Lord Emissary. Tonglinger nodded expressionlessly. She took out a black token and said, From now on, you don't have to chase after Longao. Emissary, you must not do this. Hearing this, Wei Yang's expression changed. He could agree to anything, but this was the only thing he couldn't agree to. What kind of joke was this? Longao had barged into the Nether Mansion alone. Not only had he taken away the Nether Blood Sea diagram, but he had also killed over 1,000 disciples. If this matter ended abruptly, regardless of what the outside world thought, he would not know how to answer to the Nether Mansion alone. It was precisely because of this that Wei Yang had already decided that no matter what happened, Longao would die without a doubt. There was no doubt about this. You dare to disobey my orders? Emissary, you brought Longao into my serene underworld mansion, stole the Nether Blood Sea diagram, and even killed my disciples. I can let bygones be bygones, but Longao must die. Otherwise, I will not be able to answer to the sect. Without waiting for Tong Linger to finish speaking, Wei Yang continued. Emissary, I don't need to say anything more. I believe you should know what the Nether Blood Sea map represents. Now that you've lost it, I'll see how you'll explain it to your superiors. Are you threatening me? Tong Linger's expression darkened when she heard the other party's threat. The current Tong Linger was like a completely different person. I wouldn't dare. Emissary, I'm very puzzled. As the emissary of the higher-ups, you brought Longao and the Nether Blood Sea diagram. Once this kid finds out the secret, I'd like to ask, who will be responsible for this? Tong Linger gritted her teeth, but there was nothing she could do. Although she was the emissary, her strength was inferior to the other party. After all, the difference between a divine realm cultivator and a great emperor was too great. Tong Linger didn't regret bringing Longao into the Netherworld Mansion and taking away the Nether Blood Sea diagram. Women were like this. Once they fell in love with a man without hesitation, they would disregard everything, including their own lives. Wei Yang, you have to remember that the Nether Blood Sea Palace is only a subsidiary of the sect. No matter what, you have no right to speak. Don't think that you can cover the sky with one hand just because you're a divine realm cultivator. As long as I want to, I can destroy you at any time. Do you believe me? Staring at the girl in front of him, Wei Yang's expression turned cold. However, when he thought of the other party's identity, he could only endure it. After all, he had the entire Nether Blood Sea Palace behind him. If he was a general without an army, he could kill Tong Linger in front of him and escape. But could he do that? Tong Linger, I also want you to understand one thing. You're just an emissary of the sect. Although the Nether Blood Sea Palace is a subsidiary of the sect, you can't blame us for everything. Later, I will personally make a trip to the sect to report this matter. As for how the sect will deal with this matter, I will do it. You're courting death. Tong Linger was shocked to hear that the other party was going to report this matter to the sect. Although the Nether Blood Sea Palace was only a subsidiary of the sect, Tong Linger knew that she was in the wrong first. Once the sect found out, not only her, but even Longao would be in danger. Others might not know, but how could she not know? The sect's strength wasn't something the Nether Blood Sea Palace could compare to. Once the sect wanted to kill Longao, Longao wouldn't have the slightest chance. This was without a doubt. Emissary, are you afraid? Wei Yang sneered. Emissary, I hope you understand the consequences of betraying the sect. If I report this matter to the sect, both you and Longao will die. However, for the sake of the emissary, I can let you go. Hand over the Nether Blood Sea diagram, and you have to agree to 3 conditions. Then I can write off this matter. How about it? Could she agree? Without a doubt, Tong Linger would never agree to this. Firstly, the Nether Blood Sea diagram wasn't with her at all. Even if she wanted to hand it over, it was impossible. Secondly, once she agreed, no one knew what kind of conditions the other party would put forward. If the other party wanted more excessive conditions, would she have to agree? Tong Linger's voice was filled with killing intent. You're really courting death. Ha 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 ha! Hearing Tong Linger's words, Wei Yang suddenly laughed crazily. His laughter spread to every corner of the mountain peak. What are you laughing about? Tonglinger, I know your identity and background. Since that's the case, I only have two conditions. First, hand over the nether blood sea diagram. Second, you help me break through to a higher realm. As long as you agree, I won't pursue the matter with Longao. Treat it as if it never happened. Otherwise, slap. Before Wei Yang could finish speaking, a figure flashed by and slapped Wei Yang in the face. It was an extremely loud slap. P.S. 40,000 words. Everyone work harder. Little Nine has exploded. Everyone vote more. Chapter 724. This slap left everyone in a daze. Covering his left cheek, Wei Yan didn't dare to move and just stood there in a daze. Master, you're here. Tonglinger trembled when she saw her master. After all, she would be the first one to suffer if her master knew about this. Lord Hades. Wei Yang, who was arrogant just now, bowed respectfully when he saw the old woman in black. He snorted coldly. Hades's eyes glinted coldly. Wei Yang, you're really bold. How dare you peep at Linger's body? It seems that you already know. Since things had already come to this point, Wei Yang didn't hide anything. He nodded and said, I know. Wei Yang, you've been in charge of the Nether Mansion for many years. Although he didn't know what Hades meant, Wei Yang still replied, It's been almost 30 years. 30 years. In the blink of an eye, 30 years have passed. Hades sighed, while Tonglinger stood aside obediently. In the distance, Longao hid his aura and was still not discovered by the three. From the beginning of the matter until now, Longao could be said to be the most shocked because he never expected Tonglinger to be the emissary, although he still didn't know what sect was behind Tonglinger. At the same time, Longao knew that the Nether Mansion was a subsidiary of the sect behind Tonglinger. Even the Nether Mansion had to obey. One could imagine how powerful the sect behind Yuyin and Tonglinger was. What happened? Wei Yang did not dare to hide anything. He told Tonglinger everything that had happened. He even added some details to the story, causing Tonglinger to clench her fists tightly. She wished she could go up and destroy him. After hearing this, Hades didn't show the slightest anger. He seemed very calm. Seeing this situation, Wei Yang's heart skipped a beat, and he cursed inwardly. As expected. Hades nodded and said, I already know about this. Wei Yang, you're in charge of this matter. Except for Linger, kill everyone else. No matter what, we have to take back the Nether Blood Sea map. Yes, Lord Hades. Master. Before Tonglinger could speak, Hades said coldly, Shut up. Do you know what you're doing? Feeling the cold aura from her master, Tonglinger shuddered. She forced herself to endure it, but her heart was filled with worry. What she was afraid of had really happened. Once her master interfered, Longao would be in great danger. Wei Yan, I'll give you a chance. There will be no exceptions this time. I wouldn't dare. When Wei Yang raised his head, he found that Hades and Tonglinger had disappeared. Sweat rolled down his back, but at this time, Wei Yang's lips curled into a cold smile. He muttered to himself, One day, I will have your body. Hee 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 hee. Seeing that the three of them had left, Longao walked out. The sky was already dark. At the peak of the mountain, only Longao stood there quietly, gazing into the distant void. Longao was thinking about various things. Hades had already given the order to kill him. What was the meaning of this? Under normal circumstances, as Yuyin's master, Hades shouldn't have done this to him. However, the truth was right in front of him. He could clearly sense that Yuyin's master, Hades, wanted to kill him. It seemed that he was in big trouble. The four great factions hadn't been dealt with yet, and now another superpower was involved. Longao had already thought of this. Because from the moment Hades took away Yuyin, he knew that one day, he would step into Yuyin's sect. As for taking away Yuyin, it wouldn't be easy. Helplessly shaking his head, Longao didn't know why, but he had a strong feeling that with what he had seen and heard, with the strength he possessed, he was only standing at the corner of the continent. He was like a frog at the bottom of a well. Since Tonglinger had been taken away by Hades, what came next was very simple. He just had to deal with the Nether Mansion with all his strength. As for the other three great factions, Longao was almost certain that they wouldn't interfere while he was fighting with the Nether Mansion. He believed that the three great factions understood the principle of watching the fire from the other side of the river and reaping the benefits. As long as the sect didn't come out, everything would be fine. At this moment, Longao didn't have the slightest concern. He also wanted to take advantage of this time to settle the score with the Serene Underworld Mansion. He wanted to see who would be the final winner and who would have the last laugh. The next morning, the Nether Mansion was completely unsealed. However, the Nether Mansion suddenly announced that from now on, they would go all out to kill Longao, no matter the price. No one was surprised by this result. After all, Longao had wreaked havoc in the Nether Mansion. Not only had he taken away the Nether Mansion's supreme treasure, but he had also killed thousands of their disciples. It would be strange if the Nether Mansion didn't take any action. However, no one seemed to care about the Nether Mansion's kill order. The reason was simple. In the battle between Longao and the four great factions, he had repeatedly inflicted heavy losses on them. This in itself spoke volumes of Longao's strength and foundation. Previously, the four great factions hadn't been able to kill Longao even when they joined forces. Now, was it possible for the Nether Mansion alone? No one believed this. The Nether Mansion was furious. The Nether Mansion, one of the four great factions of the spirit realm of the 9 states, and the strongest existence in the dark, was being looked down upon like this. It was the greatest humiliation. Of course, the Nether Mansion wasn't willing to accept such humiliation. Others might not know, but the people of the Nether Mansion knew very well that the Dragon Sect was nothing in the eyes of the Nether Mansion. Not to mention the Dragon Sect, even if the other three great factions joined forces, they were still nothing in front of the Nether Mansion. Due to certain restrictions, the Nether Mansion couldn't deal with the three great factions and dominate the spirit realm of the 9 states. However, the Nether Mansion knew that no one restricted them from dealing with Longao and the Dragon Sect. Not only were there no restrictions, they were ordered to kill without mercy. Precisely because of that, the Serene Underworld Mansion had mobilized 30 great emperors, holy venerables and holy emperors. When everyone heard the news, they couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. It seemed like the Serene Underworld Mansion was serious this time. It was the first time in the history of the spirit realm of the 9 states that they had mobilized such a powerful force just to deal with a single person. The Nether Mansion's main force was sent to the 9 states, ready to kill in one strike. However, the Nether Mansion had never imagined that the person they were looking for had not left the Nether Mansion at all. Instead, he was in Nether City. If the Nether Mansion knew that Longao was hiding right under their noses, who knew what they would think? Chapter 725. In Nether City. Regarding the Netherhelm Mansion's actions, Longao could be said to be crystal clear. Longao's plan was simple, to give them a taste of their own medicine. Since the Nether Mansion wanted to kill him, he had no choice but to show them some respect. After 3 days of questioning, Longao learned that all emperors in Nether Mansion were on the move, including Netherworld Emperor and Emperor Wayemo. In other words, there was only one person left in Nether Mansion, the so-called ancestor Wei Yang. Longao was speechless. If even Wei Yang was gone, then this matter would be much easier. No one in Nether Mansion would be able to stop him then. Even so, Longao was ready to enter Nether Mansion and carry out the so-called massacre. After the previous incident, although Longao did not know what had happened to the Serene Nether Mansion, he was 100% sure that the Serene Nether Mansion had excluded him. It seemed Nether Mansion didn't think he had the guts to return to Hell Valley. The more dangerous a place was, the safer it was. Since Nether Mansion issued a kill order and sent a large number of emperors after him, they didn't think he was in Nether City, and would even enter Nether Mansion. Longao didn't act rashly. because he knew Nether Mansion was on high alert. If he went in now, he would only be asking for trouble. And so, Longao waited in Nether City for the best opportunity. Ever since Nether Mansion issued a kill order for Longao, not only Nether Mansion, but even Nether City was on high alert. Longao was interrogated several times a day in Nether City, to the point where Longao wanted to attack. 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. Nether Mansion finally relaxed. No one would believe that someone chased by Nether Mansion would sneak into Nether City, and even enter Nether Mansion. Unless there was something wrong with his head, he wouldn't do such a thing. Others might not have done so, but Longao was not afraid. He knew that there were not only Xing Di in the serene Nether Mansion, but also Wei Yang Shinto. However, he was still prepared to enter the serene Nether Mansion without hesitation. Relatively speaking, the Nether Mansion was not very heavily guarded. The reason was simple. In Nether Mansion's eyes, no one in spirit domain dared to provoke them. Even if the Imperial City, Dragon Sect, Third Rank Long Clan, and Ethereal Palace joined hands, they wouldn't be taken seriously. Arrogant and conceited. Nether Mansion's attitude gave Longao an opportunity. Entering Nether Mansion was a simple matter, soul severing Soul Mansion's hand. Counting the time, Longao realized that this was the 4th time he had come to Soul Severing Soul Tower. As a forbidden ground of Nether Mansion, Soul Severing Soul Tower was guarded by 2 great emperors. But now, there were only 2 world emperors guarding it. There were 2 reasons for this. Firstly, the reason why the Serene Hades Mansion was listed as a forbidden area was because it was the place where the Nether Blood Sea map was kept. Now that the Nether Blood Sea map was lost, the Serene Hades Mansion could not continue to send 2 great emperors to guard it. It was a waste of talent. Second, in order to kill Longao, Nether Mansion sent out all the great emperors in Nether Mansion, including the 2 great emperors guarding Soul Severing Soul Tower. Thus, with just 2 world emperors, Longao could enter Soul Severing Soul Tower effortlessly. After entering Soul Severing Soul Tower, Longao didn't make a move immediately because he didn't want Wei Yan to suspect him. Thus, he had arranged everything. As long as he didn't leave any flaws, Nether Mansion wouldn't be able to find him. Longao's method was simple. 9 prefectures. A man who looked very much like Longao was constantly hiding to avoid the attention of the Nether Mansion. Soon, all kinds of Longaos appeared in various places in the 9 prefectures. Thus, Nether Mansion was completely confused. They didn't know what Longao was doing, but Nether Mansion had already issued a kill order. No matter the price, they had to kill this person. Because of this, the people of the Nether Mansion were divided into countless small teams. Each team had at least 1 Saint Emperor. That way, no matter which team found Longao, they would be able to kill him. Nether Mansion was chasing after Longao, but the Dragon Sect didn't appear. What was going on? The situation outside quickly spread to Nether Mansion. Longao also received the news. Although he was surprised, he didn't give up on this rare opportunity, and immediately made his move. Longao was very careful because Wei Yang was still in Nether Mansion. If he was discovered, it would be very difficult for him to leave Nether Mansion. In this way, Longao carefully slaughtered the Nether Mansion's disciples. 1-2. This time, Longao was very smart. He specifically targeted those who were heavily nurtured by Nether Mansion. This way, killing one of them was equivalent to killing 100 ordinary disciples. If Longao killed 3 to 5 people a day, he would definitely be discovered by Nether Mansion. However, the current situation was somewhat different. The Serene Hell Mansion was in a state of chasing after Longao. It was chaotic and no one cared about it. Moreover, many disciples had been sent out, and no one knew who had been killed. Just like this, Longao was constantly killing people in Nether Mansion. Longao was constantly assassinating people in Nether Mansion. Longao was quietly cultivating as he assassinated. He had to admit that sometimes, one had to rely on luck. Broken Soul Tower was listed as a forbidden area by Nether Mansion. Many people had entered it before, especially the guards, including the 2 Emperor Realm cultivators. They had stayed in Broken Soul Tower for a long time, but they hadn't found anything, not even a strand of hair. However, Longao had only entered Broken Soul Tower 4 times, each time less than half a month, and he had already found the secret inside. People really couldn't be compared with each other. It could be said that comparisons were odious. The 4th time he entered Broken Soul Tower. On the 8th day, Longao was quietly cultivating alone. Suddenly, a faint sound came from the 9th floor of Broken Soul Tower. Longao was very surprised. He stood up and quietly sensed the origin of the sound. The location of the Nether Blood Sea map? Longao came to the location where the Nether Blood Sea map had been. After listening carefully, Longao was very sure that the source of the sound came from inside the tower. Who was it? Longao didn't dare to act rashly because he couldn't be sure what the sound was. A human? A ghost? A spirit beast? A human or a ghost, come out! No one answered. This voice was very strange. It sounded extremely sad, and it had a frightening feeling. Longao was shocked. Just by listening for a short while, his mind was in chaos. If he hadn't stopped it in time, he might have gone crazy. What was going on? What was going on? Chapter 726. He took a deep breath. Longao stared at the wall in front of him. He didn't dare to act rashly because Longao still didn't know what was inside the wall. Left with no other choice, Longao could only let Long Fu take action and sense it. After Long Fu sensed it, his face turned serious, and he didn't say a word. Seeing Long Fu's expression, Longao's heart skipped a beat because it was the first time he saw Long Fu like this. Could there be something strange inside the wall? Longao also began to become serious, because Long Fu's power was obvious to all, and even Long Fu was so fearful, one could imagine. Long Fu, what's going on? Master, I never thought that there would be such a thing in this place. What is it? Longao hated Long Fu's riddles and couldn't wait any longer. Master, this is a serious matter. With your current strength, it's best that you don't know about it. Otherwise, it will only be bad for you. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao became even more curious. It seemed that this matter wasn't simple. Even Long Fu was afraid of it. Just thinking about it made him realize how serious this matter was. Longao still wanted to ask, but after thinking about it, he realized that since Long Fu wasn't willing to say more, it would be pointless to ask. Shrugging his shoulders helplessly, Longao prepared to return to his original spot and continue cultivating. As for the sound just now, it had nothing to do with him. However, just as Longao was about to turn around and leave, the sound became even more unpleasant. Master, quickly resist with all your strength. Nonsense, there was no need for Long Fu to remind him. Longao obviously knew what was going on. He didn't want to ask too much and didn't want to be nosy. However, the other party didn't want to and took the initiative to attack him. Sound attacks were the most terrifying because sound attacks were soundless. Once it penetrated your body, it would directly explode your soul without giving you the slightest chance to escape. One could imagine how powerful such attacks were. Of course, Longao did not dare to be careless. The power in his body instantly enveloped his soul. With the protection of the desolate divine body, he believed that the attack would not be able to harm his body. As expected, the desolate divine body blocked 50% of the sound attack. The remaining 50% entered his body, but before it could attack his soul, it was almost depleted. He heaved a long sigh of relief. Until now, Longao was still a little scared. Fortunately, he was prepared. Otherwise, the sound attack would have penetrated his soul and killed him in the breaking spirit tower. Looking at the wall in front of him with fear, this time before Longao could speak, Long Fu spoke first. Master, you have the aura of the Chaos Stone Tablet on you, so he will take the initiative to attack you. You have to be careful. Chaos Stone Tablet? So all of this was caused by the Primal Chaos Stone Tablets. Longao had been suspicious as to why this thing didn't attack anyone but him. After thinking about it, he realized that it was because of the 2 primal chaos stone tablets in his dantian. But one had to know that before this, the breaking spirit tower had been protected for a long time. There were even 2 great emperors, but they were all fine. Only he was very depressed. But Longao was also very surprised, because he never thought that the thing in the wall could sense the Chaos Stone tablet in his dantian. After all, even the heavenly Tao could not sense it. Long Fu, what is in the wall? Why can it sense the Chaos Stone tablet in my body? Things had already reached this stage. Longao, who originally did not want to know, had to know now. Because he still had the breaking spirit tower as his base. If it constantly attacked him in the future, how could he focus on dealing with the Nether Mansion? Because of this, Longao had to know what was in the wall. Before Long Fu could speak, Longao said first, Long Fu, I know you are doing this for my own good. But now that this thing is threatening me, I have to know. As for whether or not my strength is qualified to know, I do not want to say too much. Seeing his master's determined face, Long Fu was also helpless. Long Fu naturally understood his master's personality. Once his master decided on something, he would not change his mind. Especially when the other party had just attacked his master. Since things had already reached this stage, Long Fu did not want to continue hiding it. He said, Master, this is not something I should tell you. But since you want to know, I will explain it to you. Longao was completely focused. He stared at the wall in front of him, ready to defend at any moment. As he listened to what Long Fu was about to say, his intuition told him that the thing in the wall was not simple. Master, the thing in the wall is actually related to the blood pool. What do you mean? When the blood pool was mentioned, Longao's heart skipped a beat. Because it was the blood pool that had almost turned him into a killing tool. Longao was very afraid of the blood pool in the dragon seal space. Master, you don't know. When the blood pool descended into the world, the dragon seal appeared at the same time. In order to prevent it from coming out in the future, the blood pool scattered its power. When the dragon seal sealed the blood pool, many years later, the power of the blood pool slowly appeared. Long Fu, you mean to say that the power of the blood pool is the thing in the wall? Nodding, Long Fu sighed and said, For countless years, the dragon seal has been destroying the so-called remnant power of the blood pool. It can be considered a harvest. But I never thought that the remnant power of the blood pool would still exist in this world. So that's how it was. What is the thing in the wall? A soul, a divine soul that possesses the power of the blood pool. So, Master, you should leave this place as soon as possible. The blood pool is innately able to sense the aura of the primal chaos stone tablets. Once you are attacked and careless, the blood pool within the dragon seal will also counterattack. At that time, it will be corroded, and you will be in big trouble. Nodding, Long Fu spoke in such a solemn manner. Longao naturally knew how serious this matter was. Longao was not someone who would look for trouble. He knew that if Long Fu had a way, he would have already destroyed the other party. It seemed that the dragon seal did not have the strength to do so. Longao did not continue to stay on the 9th floor. He prepared to leave. As the saying goes, a wise man does not fight when the odds are against him. There was no need for him to stay and fight the remnant power of the blood pool. Even if he won, there was no benefit to him. Once he lost, he would have to go down to see King Yama. Thinking of this, Longao stood up and prepared to leave. He wanted to leave, but there was someone who did not want to leave. The remnant power of the blood pool, the so-called divine soul, continued to attack him. After knowing the other party's true identity, Longao did not dare to be careless. He dodged and was not in a hurry to counterattack. It was just a remnant soul. Even if it had the power of the blood pool, it would not be able to penetrate his desolate divine body. Chapter 727. Longao didn't want to be entangled with the remaining power of the blood pool. No matter what, he entered the Breaking Soul Tower for the Nether Mansion, not to deal with the remaining power of the blood pool. Because of this, Longao walked step by step towards the 8th floor. Whoosh! Master, leave this place quickly! Long Fu's reminder was obviously too late. Before Longao could react, a bloody light suddenly shot out from the wall. Inside the dragon seal space, the blood pool that was still calm suddenly began to churn. The waves roared endlessly like a ferocious beast. The blood pool moved. Long Fu and Longao looked at the abnormal movement of the blood pool. Both of their faces were abnormally ugly. The two of them naturally knew what the consequences would be once the seal of the blood pool was broken. Long Fu didn't dare to be careless. He immediately mobilized the power of the entire dragon seal space and began to suppress the blood pool. But even so, the blood pool disappeared with a whoosh. Breaking Soul Tower, 9th floor. When the blood pool appeared, the bloody figure was excited to the extreme. Without any hesitation, the bloody figure directly jumped into the blood pool. When Longao and Long Fu arrived, it was already too late. Long Fu, what should we do now? Longao didn't know much about the blood pool and the dragon seal, so he didn't know what to do. However, Long Fu knew everything. At this time, only Long Fu knew what to do. Master, there's no other way. Although the blood pool will still be suppressed by the dragon seal, the soul has already entered the blood pool. If nothing goes wrong, the blood pool will refine a blood demon soul. Blood demon soul? What was that? Before Longao could ask, Long Fu had already answered. The blood demon soul refined by the blood pool is actually a corpse slave. It's just that without my control, the corpse slave refined is just a killing tool. So it was a corpse slave. Longao saw Long Fu speaking so seriously and didn't dare to be careless. Not long after, the divine soul that had just entered the blood pool suddenly rushed out, its entire body covered in blood. This was the so-called blood demon divine soul. When the blood demon divine soul saw Longao, it immediately rushed towards him. Before it even arrived, a horrifying bloody aura pressed down on Longao. With the chi of heaven and earth protecting him, Longao seemed to be constantly suppressed by the aura. In the blink of an eye, Longao and the blood demon's divine soul were already engaged in a fierce battle. With just one move, Longao was struck by the blood devil's divine soul. His body was like a kite with a broken string, and he was sent flying. Turning around in the air, Longao stopped abruptly. He spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at the blood demon divine soul in front of him in shock. It was really strong. It was many times stronger than the corpse demon. Moreover, the blood demon divine soul that had just been refined still had the strength of a supreme Dao martial artist. With his current strength, could he contend with it? Wei Yang? Longao could clearly sense that a supreme Dao martial artist was coming from the outside. Without a doubt, there was only one supreme Dao martial artist in the entire serene dark mansion, and that was the so-called old ancestor Wei Yang. He was overjoyed. It seemed like his luck was really good. Old ancestor Wei Yang didn't come earlier or later, but at this moment. It was simply the heavens helping him. Longao didn't hesitate at all, and the power in his body circulated crazily. In the next second, Wei Yang had already appeared on the 9th floor. Seeing Longao, Wei Yang instantly understood the ins and outs of the matter. Everything was caused by this kid. Thinking about how the sect's most outstanding disciples were always killed during this period of time, Wei Yang released a murderous aura that directly exploded. I'm not going to play with you anymore. I hope you can come out alive. His savior had arrived. Longao naturally wouldn't stay. If it was an ordinary person, under the gaze of two supreme Dao martial artists, it would be impossible for them to leave. However, Longao's situation was completely different. He had the ability to teleport, and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Wei Yang, who still didn't know what had happened, was left behind. Before he could chase after him, he was already attacked by the blood demon's divine soul. Supreme Dao martial artist! Wei Yang exclaimed. He had never thought that a supreme down martial artist would suddenly appear in Breaking Soul Tower, and his aura was even stronger than his. He didn't dare to face the blood demon's divine soul head-on. It had to be said that Wei Yang's strength was also very strong. Being suppressed by the blood demon's divine soul step by step, he was soon forced into a corner. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Wei Yan had already reached the exit and directly disappeared from the 9th floor. The blood demon's divine soul couldn't leave the 9th floor at all, because Breaking Soul Tower itself was a seal. It was just that the descendants of the Nether Mansion didn't know about it. Feeling that the supreme down martial artist didn't chase after him, Wei Yan also let out a long sigh of relief, sighing inwardly that it was a close call. Longao. Longao, get out here! Everything was very obvious. It was all caused by Longao alone. Although Wei Yang didn't want to believe that Longao dared to have such courage to return to the Nether Mansion, the truth was in front of him. No one answered. As soon as Longao left the 9th floor, he left Breaking Soul Tower at his fastest speed. Longao was no fool, because whether it was the blood demon's divine soul or old ancestor Wei Yang who won, the unlucky one in the end would be him. Because of this, Longao didn't stay. Looking at Longao, who had already left, Wei Yang's face was extremely ugly. Until now, Wei Yang still couldn't figure out where the supreme down martial artist on the 9th floor of Breaking Soul Tower came from. He was sure that the supreme down martial artist was definitely not Longao's friend, and might even be an enemy. Could it be that the supreme down martial artist belonged to the Nether Mansion? Wei Yang seemed to have thought of something, associating that Breaking Soul Tower was listed as a forbidden area by the old ancestors. Could it be that Breaking Soul Tower itself was sealing a supreme down martial artist? If so, it would be great. Wei Yang was very clear in his heart that if it was really as he guessed, as long as he could control this supreme down martial artist, wouldn't the Nether Mansion have another powerful supreme down martial artist? Just now, when he fought with the supreme down martial artist, Wei Yang could feel the strength of the other party. With his strength, he was simply not a match for the other party. If this person could become a supreme down martial artist of the Nether Mansion, just thinking about it made him excited. However, Wei Yang wasn't a reckless person, of course. He knew that the old ancestor must have his reasons for sealing this person in Breaking Soul Tower. It seemed that it wouldn't be an easy task to recruit this person. The most important thing now was to kill Longao. Wei Yang had slowly begun to fear Longao, because if it was someone else, they absolutely wouldn't dare to return to the Nether Mansion. But this person risked danger to come here, just to kill the sect's disciple. Such an enemy was really terrifying, because no one knew when this person would appear, and what kind of things he would do. Because of this, once he became an enemy of this kind of person, he had to eliminate the source of trouble, otherwise, there would be endless troubles. P.S. Continue after midnight, let's stay up tonight, everyone vote more. Chapter 728. Longao didn't leave the Serene Darkness Mansion. Longao wasn't a fool. If he chose to leave now, he would definitely be caught. Normally, Longao would think of all sorts of ways to leave the Serene Darkness Mansion as soon as he left the Soul-Breaking Tower. That was why Longao wanted to go in the opposite direction. As expected. From Wei Yang and Wei Mo's point of view, Longao definitely wanted to leave the Serene Darkness Mansion. Hence, Wei Mo chased after him. Somewhere in the Serene Darkness Mansion. Long Fu, the blood pool is an extremely unstable variable. We have to think of a way to completely seal the blood pool. Looking at the huge blood pool in front of him, it would be a lie to say that he wasn't afraid. Firstly, the blood pool could devour him at any time. In other words, he might become a killing tool one day. Secondly, the blood demon divine soul refined by the blood pool was too strong. It would be good if he could control it, but the problem was that the blood demon divine soul didn't listen to him at all. Master, it's easier said than done. The blood pool is the strongest existence in the world. Even compared to the Chaos Stone tablets, it's not much inferior. If not for some reason, even the dragon seal wouldn't have been able to seal the blood pool. Then are we just going to sit here and wait? Helplessly shrugging, Longfu said. There's no way at the moment. Unless you can gather all 12 Chaos Stone tablets and successfully merge them all, then maybe you can completely seal the blood pool. F***ck. He cursed in his heart. Gathering all 12 Chaos Stone tablets? Was that a joke? With regards to the 12 Chaos Stone tablets, Longao naturally knew what it meant. Not to mention collecting all of the Chaos Stone tablets, even obtaining one of the Chaos Stone tablets would be a great fortune amidst all the misfortune. Not to mention, obtaining all 12 Chaos Stone tablets, and merging them all was like smashing an egg against a rock. It was an impossible task. Longao found it hard to imagine what it would be like to merge all 12 Chaos Stone tablets. After all, he had only obtained 2 of them and merging them was already so difficult. According to what Longfu said, wanting to completely seal the blood pool was something that was practically impossible to happen. Thinking of this, Longao's face turned serious. Clansman, although the blood pool is strong, the dragon seal uses 95% of its power to seal it. Unless it encounters a strong external force, the blood pool won't be able to break the seal and leave. Although that was the case, Longao still didn't feel at ease. Longao was very clear in his heart that once he was devoured by the blood pool and became a killing tool, he would not recognize anyone and would kill anyone he saw. Even if his parents, grandfather, and lover were standing in front of him, he would not hesitate to attack. If such a day really came, what should he do? Longfu, I want to ask you to promise me something. Master, please speak. If one day, I'm unfortunately devoured by the blood pool and become a tool of slaughter, you'll kill me then. Do you understand? Longfu didn't say anything. It was unknown whether he agreed or not. Please promise me. Staring at his master, Longfu finally nodded. Seeing that Longfu had agreed to his request, Longao heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that one day, he would hurt his family. Whether it was intentional or not, he would rather die than hurt his family. Therefore, he would rather die than hurt his family. Master, after this period of cultivation, you have successfully broken through to the high-level Heavenly Sage. If nothing goes wrong, you should be able to break through to the Heavenly Sage in 3 months. Hearing this, Longao was pleasantly surprised. The 8 realms of the illusionary divine stage were divided into the half-sage stage, sage stage, earth sage stage, heavenly sage stage, sage king stage, sage emperor stage, sage venerable stage, and sage emperor stage. Above the illusionary divine stage was the 10 realms of the great emperor stage. Longao had just broken through to the high-level heavenly sage stage. His next target was the sage king stage. 3 months, if it was an ordinary person, would they have such confidence? Under normal circumstances, it would take 2 to 5 years to break through from the high-level heavenly sage stage to the beginner sage king stage. If one's talent was slightly weaker, it would take 8 to 10 years, or even 30 to 50 years. However, Longao's situation was completely different. Firstly, Longao had the sacred desolate body and could absorb endless energy. In other words, the more energy he absorbed, the faster his cultivation speed would be. Moreover, there would be no bottleneck. Secondly, Longao had the dragon seal space and could refine all kinds of energy, including souls and souls. In other words, the most difficult part of absorbing energy for Longao had been solved. The sacred desolate body was known as the number 1 divine body. At the same time, it was also known as the number 1 useless body. If other people had the sacred desolate body, they could only be useless for the rest of their lives. Just like Longao a few years ago, he had been humiliated and ridiculed everywhere. However, Longao was different. With the dragon seal space, everything was nonsense. Longao's cultivation speed was obvious to all. In just a few years he had soared from the number 1 useless person in Crimson Fire Town to the current Heavenly Sage stage. If this matter were to be told, not many people would believe it. Longfu, what should I do? Master, As long as you have enough energy, you can break through from the Heavenly Sage stage to the Sage King stage. I can't leave now. If I want to kill spirit beasts or find a suitable target, I'll talk about it later. Of course, Longao knew what Long Fu meant. If he wanted to break through and improve, he had to give Long Fu the energy to refine. However, this was the serene Hades mansion. If he left now, he would be walking into a trap. Therefore, he had to wait until he left the serene Hades mansion. Master, you don't have to leave the serene Hades mansion. There's a good place now that can let you get enough energy in a short period of time. As long as you finish absorbing, you can advance to the Sage King stage in 3 months, or even less. Hearing this, Longao was puzzled. He knew Long Fu's character very well. Was there a good place in the serene Hades mansion? If that was the case, he wouldn't be polite. Before Longao could speak, Long Fu said, Master, I've already carefully sensed this place before. Aside from the bottom of the serene Hades cliff, the serene Hades cliff itself is an extremely good place. There's a very powerful energy there. I can help Master refine it. The serene Hades cliff was the forbidden area of the serene Hades mansion. Longao had been there twice before, but he didn't feel anything special. The only difference was that the serene Hades cliff was indeed a good place to cultivate, but the powerful energy that Long Fu mentioned didn't seem to be there. However, Longao didn't suspect Long Fu. If Long Fu said there was, then there must be. In that case, Longao didn't hesitate at all. He directly shot toward the serene Hades cliff, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. Chapter 729. Nether Cliff. As soon as Longao stepped in, he immediately dodged to the side. What fast speed! Looking at the young man who suddenly appeared in front of him, Longao sneered and said, The Nether Mansion is really not bad. They're all a bunch of beasts who sneak up on people. The young man who just appeared was called Shirkai, the most outstanding disciple of the Nether Mansion. At such a young age, he had already broken through to the advanced Saint King level. He was also the disciple who had the most hope of breaking through to the Great Emperor level. Ever since Longao caused trouble in the Nether Mansion, Shirkai had been waiting at Nether Cliff. Others might not have guessed it, but Shirkai was very sure that this incident was 100% caused by Longao. It was precisely because of this that Shirkai had always been guarding the Netherworld Cliff. No one knew who gave him such great confidence, knowing that Longao would definitely come. Longao, you really boast shamelessly. With a sneer, Shirkai's face was full of mockery. He said contemptuously, Everyone says that you're very strong. Today, I'd like to see how a piece of trash can defeat me. An advanced Saint King. In an instant, Longao had already sensed the other's strength. If Longao used all his trump cards, he was confident that he could fight the other party. However, if they fought normally, Longao knew very well that the other party's strength far surpassed his. No matter what, he was still a heavenly saint, and the other party was a Saint King. The two were not on the same level at all. They could not be compared. This battle was unavoidable. Since that was the case, Longao did not waste any more words. With a spatial teleportation, his body disappeared instantly, giving Shirkai a fright. He had to admit that Shirkai was indeed very powerful. As expected of the most outstanding disciple of the Nether Mansion. Whether it was strength or reaction, he was a first-class existence. Since spatial teleportation could not succeed, Longao continued to use his innate ability. However, at this time, to Longao's disbelief, Shirkai, who was just there, suddenly disappeared. Longao was very sure that Shirkai definitely did not use spatial teleportation. Since that was the case, how did Shirkai do it? At this moment, there was no time for Longao to think. He didn't dare to be careless. The other party's combat prowess and strength had already exceeded his understanding. Self-created martial technique, heaven and earth mourn. Longao had not used universal sorrow for a very long time, but now he had no other choice. Longao released a powerful energy from his body. With himself as the center, it started to spin, forming a tornado in the blink of an eye. In this way, Longao did not give Shirkai the slightest chance at all. Shirkai appeared and looked coldly at the tornado in front of him. He was extremely shocked in his heart. It seemed that the other party's rise was not due to luck. He still had some strength. Even so, Shirkai still did not put Longao in his eyes. The tornado disappeared. Longao, if you have the ability, don't play tricks. Let's have a head-on battle. Do you dare to accept the challenge? Idiot. This was not a spar. Longao suspected that the other party had been provoked. He was too lazy to talk nonsense. Longao held the blood-sucking broadsword in his hand and slashed out fiercely. In the blink of an eye, the two continued to fight. They went back and forth, and in an instant they had fought for 30 rounds. There was no clear winner. In this way, Shirkai could not bear it. Because in his opinion, as a Saint King martial artist, it would be easy for him to kill the other party. But now, the other party could fight with him for 30 rounds, and it seemed like he was doing it with ease. What happened? If this matter were to spread, where would his face go? Thinking of this, Shirkai's attack speed began to increase, but Longao was unwilling to continue playing with him. Because the battle between the two of them would take a long time. If Wei Yang was attracted, then things would be troublesome. After ruthlessly pushing Shirkai away, Longao turned and left. With the help of spatial teleportation, he did not give Shirkai the slightest chance and directly disappeared. Ran away? The other party ran away? Dumbfounded, Shirkai did not know what had just happened. According to the information he had heard, Longao did not seem to be running away. Because of this, Shirkai did not expect the other party to run from the beginning to the end. Because of this, Shirkai was completely dumbfounded looking at the disappearing figure. He had no idea what had just happened. Longao, I will not let this matter rest. Longao did not leave, but waited at the nether cliff. He did not know why, but he had a feeling that Longao would definitely come. As for the reason, he did not know. Just as Shirkai had guessed, Longao did not leave. In the distance, Longao stood quietly. He did not care about the battle just now. Although he was not afraid of a Saint King, it was not easy to kill that person. Not to mention, this was the territory of the Nether Mansion. Longao admired Shirkai. He actually predicted that he would come to the Nether Cliff, and did not inform old ancestor Wei Yang. If old ancestor Wei Yang knew about this, he would probably vomit blood from anger. Longao did not want to fight with Shirkai at this time. According to Long Fu, the Nether Cliff was the sacred cultivation ground of the Nether Mansion. As long as he could absorb the energy here, breaking through to Saint King would not be a problem. The less trouble, the better. With such a rare opportunity, Longao was not willing to lose this opportunity because of one person. It was too easy to avoid this moment. Longao took a deep breath and his body suddenly disappeared. After 10 consecutive spatial teleportations, Longao smoothly entered the Nether Cliff. Since the incident, the Nether Mansion had sealed off the Nether Cliff. No one was allowed to take a step into the Nether Cliff, even the protectors. There was only one way to enter the Nether Cliff, and that was to ask the Mansion Lord. However, the result was the same. No one could enter the Nether Cliff. However, everyone understood. No one knew when Longao would appear. If he killed several times in a row, the foundation of the Nether Mansion would be damaged, and it would be difficult for them to recover. Just like that, the current Yuming Cliff was very quiet. There was not a single person in sight. Only Longao was quietly standing at the peak of Yuming Cliff. The world was unpredictable. Not long ago, he was forced to jump down by the experts of the Nether Mansion. However, in just a few days, not only did he not die, but he was standing here again. Long Fu, what should I do? Master, I can't absorb the energy here. I can only go through you. However, you must listen to my orders. Otherwise, if other energy is mixed in, it will greatly affect you. Nodding his head, Longao naturally wouldn't object. Following Long Fu's instructions, he began to absorb the surrounding energy and entered the dragon seal space in his dantian. At this moment, Longao was like a bottomless pit, absorbing the surrounding energy. Chapter 730. He sat quietly at the top of Nether Cliff. Through Longao's body, he absorbed the surrounding energy, and then continuously entered the dragon seal space. With the help of the blood pool, Long Fu began to refine the energy, and then re-inject it into Longao's body. It was like an endless cycle. Longao had the sacred desolation body, and what he lacked the most was energy. Now that he had enough energy, it was not difficult for Longao to use this energy to break through to Saint Kinghood. The sacred desolation body was the number one useless body in the eyes of others, but for Longao, it was the number one divine body. According to Long Fu, it would take at least 2 or 3 months for his cultivation to smoothly break through to Saint Kinghood. If it were anywhere else, Longao would not be worried, but the situation was different now. No matter what, this was the Nether Cliff, the forbidden area of the Nether Mansion. Although the Nether Mansion had sealed the Nether Cliff in order to avoid his assassination, no one knew when the Nether Mansion would remove the seal. If there was a sudden attack, he would be in a very passive position. If he was discovered, he would just have to fight. The only thing that Longao was reluctant to leave was the energy here. If he was discovered, he could not continue to stay here to absorb energy. If that was the case, not to mention 2 or 3 months, he would not be able to break through to Saint Kinghood in half a year or even a year. Thinking of this, Longao got up and began to look for a secluded place. After searching for a long time, Longao finally found an extremely secluded place. He believed that even if the disciples of the Nether Mansion came, they would not be able to find him. Just as Longao had guessed. In just 10 days, the Nether Mansion had removed the seal. According to the Nether Mansion, if they did not get rid of Longao, they would keep the seal. Not to mention other things, just the face of the Nether Mansion seemed to be something that they could not afford to lose. They were afraid of a boy, so they sealed the Nether Cliff. If this matter were to spread out, it would be too embarrassing. There were still more than 100 disciples. More than 100 disciples stepped into the Nether Cliff and sat on the ground to cultivate. No one found Longao's trace, which was a little funny. Just like that, time passed little by little. 1 month, 2 months, 2.5 months. Have you noticed? Recently, I've been feeling that the power around me seems to be flowing away. I have the same feeling. What's going on? Should we report this to the manor head? No need. Hearing the sudden voice, everyone was shocked, especially when they saw the other party's face. Everyone was shocked to the extreme, and they were also scared to the extreme. As the saying goes, a man's reputation is like the bark of a tree. Everyone knew about Longao's legend. Especially this time, Longao had repeatedly wreaked havoc in the serene Nether Mansion, leaving and returning. It was as if he didn't put the serene Nether Mansion in his eyes. Longao, you still dare to appear here? You really don't know the meaning of death. Longao, if you know what's good for you, surrender obediently. Otherwise, what? Looking at Longao, who was walking towards them step by step, everyone felt despair. This was because the Longao had been like this before, silently annihilating several groups of disciples. Could it be that they wouldn't be able to escape this calamity? Kill. Of course, Longao wouldn't show any mercy. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't afford to delay his cultivation, he believed that the 100 people here would have been slaughtered already. However, it wasn't too late now. Longao's teleportation speed wasn't something these disciples could compare to. In just a few moves, Longao had already killed a third of the disciples. Just as he was about to continue his massacre, Shirkai's figure appeared, his face extremely gloomy and ugly. Longao, how dare you slaughter my serene Nether Mansion's disciples? You're courting death. Shirkai couldn't believe what had just happened. Ever since the establishment of the serene nether mansion, no one had ever dared to be so presumptuous. Killing disciples in the serene nether mansion's forbidden area was simply not putting the serene nether mansion in his eyes. Shirkai, since you're a genius, you'd better scram to the side. Remember, this is between me and the serene nether mansion. It's none of your business. Ha ha! Hearing Longao's words, Shirkai instantly threw his head back and laughed. His laughter was filled with disdain and mockery, as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. Longao, I have to admit that other than bragging and running away from battles, you only have arrogance left. I'll let you know that arrogance comes with a price. Shirkai, who had just released his aura, froze as if he had seen a ghost. He exclaimed, Holy King! You've also broken through to Holy King? Impossible! This is impossible! That's right, the aura Longao was releasing was the aura of a Holy King. Shirkai had heard that Longao's cultivation speed was extremely fast, and his talent was unprecedented. From the beginning to the end, Shirkai didn't want to believe it. Now, looking at the youth before him, Shirkai was still somewhat unwilling to believe that it was true. In just a few days, about 2.5 months, Longao had broken through from Heavenly Saint to Holy King? Was this true? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't jealous. Because of this, Shirkai was even more determined to kill Longao. Without the slightest hesitation, he directly rushed out. Every move was vicious, and every move was fatal. There was only one goal, and that was to kill Longao. Longao didn't leave this time. He didn't leave before because Longao was afraid of Shirkai, but because he didn't want to waste time. No matter what, this was the territory of Nether Mansion. There were many experts here, and there were even divine path cultivators. He didn't want to be surrounded. Even so, Longao was very clear in his heart that he had to end this battle quickly. Otherwise, when the reinforcements arrived, unless he continued to jump off the cliff, it would be very difficult for him to leave this place, very difficult. End this battle quickly. Longao had just come up and directly used his innate ability, Dragon Roar. At the same time, a giant dragon shadow appeared behind him. Before he made a move, he was shocked to find that his body was locked, and the flow of time around him began to change. What was going on? Shirkai was completely dumbfounded. Although he knew Longao well, the proud Shirkai always thought that Longao was inferior to him, so he ignored everything, resulting in today's situation. Shirkai didn't sit still and wait for death. He channeled all the strength in his body and began to forcibly break the lock and the flow of time around him. Dragon Roar? If it was the Longao 2.5 months ago, Shirkai might have had a chance to forcibly break it. But now, as Longao's cultivation broke through to Holy King, Shirkai almost had no chance. This was because the difference between a beginner Holy King and an advanced Holy King wasn't very big for Longao, especially in front of innate abilities. Chapter 731. Shirkai was locked in place and couldn't break out at all. At this moment, Shirkai finally realized the seriousness of the matter. It was also because of this that Longao seized the rare opportunity and teleported, disappearing from the spot. In an instant, Longao appeared in front of Shirkai, and the blood-sucking broadsword in his hand had already slashed out. The terrifying broadsword light caused the surrounding space to tremble, and traces of spatial cracks appeared. Without giving Shirkai any chance, the broadsword light directly swallowed Shirkai. Longao's cultivation had successfully broken through to the beginner stage of the Holy King realm, and his strength had increased by nearly 3 times. Shirkai was no longer a problem, especially when Longao used all kinds of trump cards. From the beginning to the end, Shirkai didn't know what had happened. He couldn't understand how the other party could break through to the Holy King realm in such a short time, and he didn't even have a chance to fight back. Shirkai was unwilling, but he already had no chance. He was swallowed by the broadsword light, and he didn't even have the slightest chance to resist. After killing Shirkai, Longao didn't stay. because he knew very well that he didn't kill everyone just now. Those who escaped would definitely tell Wei Yang about him. If he didn't leave, wouldn't he be waiting for death? As expected. Not long after, Wei Yang and the others arrived, but from the beginning to the end, Wei Yang didn't search the nether cliff. The reason was very simple. Since Longao had already appeared in the nether cliff and was discovered, only a fool would continue to stay. However, Wei Yang had already confirmed one thing, and that was that Longao was still in the nether mansion. Wei Yang's expression was very ugly. He glanced at the corpse on the ground and turned to leave. He also ordered to seal off the nether mansion and kill Longao with all their might. A smokescreen. Wei Yang finally knew that Longao was just a smokescreen outside. His goal was to draw their attention and enter the nether mansion to kill the disciples of the nether mansion. Wei Yang hated this person to the extreme, and he couldn't wait to kill him immediately. After confirming that Longao was in the nether mansion, Wei Yang immediately summoned all of his men back to the nether mansion, preparing to close the door and beat the dog. This time, Wei Yang was determined to deal with Longao. He had sealed all the exits. Not to mention Longao, even the disciples of the nether mansion would have a hard time getting out. The only exit was guarded by 10 great emperors. Everyone in the nether mansion was in danger. Right now, Longao was like a god of death, because no one knew when this god of death would appear behind you. A person who could even kill Shi Kai. It was easy to imagine how terrifying this person was. Just like that, out of the 30 great emperors, 10 of them were left to guard the exit. The rest of them were searching for Longao's whereabouts on a large scale. The nether mansion wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. Even 10 nether cities couldn't compare to one nether mansion. If Longao had the intention to hide, it would not be an easy task to find this person in a short period of time. The nether cliff. Longao didn't leave the nether cliff. It was still the same saying, the most dangerous place was also the safest place. Longao firmly believed that if he hid on the nether cliff, Wei Yang wouldn't even think that he was here. After successfully breaking through to the Saint King realm, Longao quickly stabilized his realm. Longao was full of confidence. With his current strength, as long as he didn't meet anyone above the Saint King realm, he would be invincible. Even if he met a peak Saint King, he wouldn't be afraid. The reason why Longao was so confident was because of his trump card. After 10 days of stabilizing, Longao's Saint King realm that he had just broken through was finally completely stabilized. What he needed to do next was to constantly deal with the nether mansion and continue to cultivate at the same time, striving to advance to peak Saint King as soon as possible. Master, the 2 primal chaos stone tablets have already been separated by you. If nothing unexpected happens, the 2 primal chaos stone tablets will not collide. In order to be safe, Master should now begin to comprehend the primal chaos stone tablet you just obtained and see what kind of power it contains. Nodding, Longao naturally knew what Long Fu meant. There were a total of 12 chaos stone tablets in the world, and they were all the strongest existences. Each chaos stone tablet contained a peerless martial technique. For example, the 5 elements chaos stone tablet contained the 5 elements heaven swallowing art. Although Longao was still unable to comprehend the 5 elemental heaven devouring art, the 5 elemental heaven devouring art had merged with spatial teleportation and the Tao of formations. Thus, Longao's spatial teleportation had directly doubled. This was of great help to his strength. After seeing the power of the 5 elements heaven swallowing art, Longao was looking forward to the other chaos stone tablet. He wanted to know what kind of martial technique it contained. According to Long Fu, each of the 12 chaos stone tablets contained different cultivation methods and martial skills. The power they contained was also different. The first chaos stone tablet he obtained contained the power of the 5 elements. As for the chaos stone tablet he just obtained, he didn't know what kind of power it contained. However, Longao had a headache trying to comprehend the chaos stone tablets. Previously, he had spent a lot of time trying to comprehend the 5 elements Chaos Stone tablet before finally comprehending the 5 elements heaven swallowing art. Longao knew very well that if he wanted to comprehend the Chaos Stone tablets, it all depended on luck and opportunity. Otherwise, everything was nonsense. There was no other way. He had obtained the Chaos Stone tablet with great difficulty. If he didn't comprehend it, even he would feel sorry for himself. It had to be known that countless people wanted to obtain the 12 Chaos Stone tablets, but were unable to do so. This included the #1 powerhouse in the world, the Heavenly Tao. As for whether or not the divine mathematician wanted to obtain it, Longao had no idea. Longao began to comprehend the 2nd Chaos Stone tablet. As he had guessed, the Chaos Stone tablets were very difficult to comprehend. Not only did he have to comprehend the Chaos Stone tablets, Longao also had to be on guard against the collision of the 2 Chaos Stone tablets. As the saying went, it was better to be safe than sorry. If he was unlucky and the 2 Chaos Stone tablets collided, he would be out of luck. Longao was comprehending the Chaos Stone tablets at Nether Cliff. As for Wei Yang, he led everyone to search every corner of the Nether Mansion for traces of him. They nearly turned the entire Nether Mansion upside down. But the result? They found nothing. Where was Longao hiding? Wei Yang naturally thought of Soul Splintering Tower and Nether Cliff. However, Soul Splintering Tower already had a divine path martial artist. He believed that no matter how much water had entered Longao's brain, there was no way he would hide in Soul Splintering Tower. Since that was the case, Wei Yang directly sent people to Nether Cliff. But in the end, they still couldn't find him. This time, let alone Wei Yang, even the others felt that this matter was a little inconceivable. But one had to know that the Nether Mansion had already mobilized everyone and searched almost every place. Yet they still couldn't find him. This could only mean one thing. Longao was no longer in the Nether Mansion. Chapter 732. Did Longao really leave the serene Nether Mansion? Wei Yan still couldn't believe that Longao had left. After the previous few times, it was very likely that Longao was still in the serene Nether Mansion. It was just that they didn't know where he was hiding. If Longao didn't show himself, the serene Nether Mansion wouldn't be able to find him. Thus, the two sides fell into a stalemate. Inside the main hall of the serene Nether Mansion. Old Ancestor, we've searched the sect more than 3 times, but we still can't find any trace of Longao. Netherworld Great Emperor and Wei Mo Great Emperor's faces were gloomy because Longao had provoked the sect time and time again. It was simply unbearable. Even if the secret cave could endure it, the chrysanthemum could not tolerate it. After searching 3 times, they still couldn't find any trace of Longao. Old Ancestor Wei Yang also felt that something was wrong. Old Ancestor, could it be that Longao has left the sect? Waving his hand, Wei Yang said firmly. Impossible. I'm certain that Longao is still in the sect. He's just hiding somewhere. The two didn't know why the old ancestor was so decisive. Could it be that Longao was still in the sect? Old ancestor, what should we do now? Continue searching. No matter what, find him for me. Old ancestor Wei Yang was clearly enraged. He was played by a brat in his own territory time and time again. If this matter spread out, where would his face go? Where would the serene Nether Mansion's face go? Where was Longao? Nether Cliff. Hearing the sudden voice, Wei Yang's expression changed. He immediately bowed respectfully and said, Lord Hades, why are you here? The black-clad old woman who suddenly appeared was none other than Yu Yin and Tong Linger's master, Hades. She had left and returned. Wei Yang didn't know why Hades suddenly returned. Nether Cliff. Could it be that Longao was at Nether Cliff? Wei Yang, before I came, your master asked me to pass you a message. Lord Hades, please speak. Wei Yang was delighted to hear that. His master was in existence on the same level as Hades. As long as his master was present, the Nether Mansion wouldn't be destroyed. However, very few people in the Martial Heaven continent knew about this. Your master told me to tell you that you can start your plan in 3 years. Remember, you have to be careful at every step and don't make the slightest mistake. Otherwise, you will have to bear all the consequences. Hearing his master's words, Wei Yang was pleasantly surprised. After waiting for so many years, the time had finally come. Wei Yang said in surprise, "Thank you, Lord Hades. I will definitely arrange it well. After 3 years, I will not disappoint Master." Nodding in satisfaction, Hades said in an indifferent voice, "Longao has always been on Nether Cliff. Remember, do not let this person go this time. We must eliminate him completely." Sir Hades, forgive me for asking, but how has Longao offended you? As expected, Longao was still in the Nether Mansion, and he had always been on Nether Cliff. However, Wei Yang was curious. He couldn't figure out why he hadn't been able to find Longao even after searching 3 times. However, Wei Yang didn't have the slightest doubt. Since Hades had said that Longao was on Nether Cliff, then Longao had to be there. You don't need to ask about this. Just remember one thing. No matter what happens, you have to kill him. Otherwise, I won't help you in the operation in 3 years. Understood? Don't worry, Lord Hades. I will definitely accomplish this. In any case, Longao was going to die. Since that was the case, there was no reason for him to refuse Hades. Hades's status in the sect was very high. If he had his master and Hades's help, then the operation in 3 years would definitely succeed. Are you going, Lord Hades? For some reason, I won't help. I'll wait for your good news. Understood. Since things had reached this point, Wei Yang naturally wouldn't hesitate. He immediately led a large group of people to Nether Cliff. This time, Longao had miscalculated. However, it was difficult to deal with. He was confident that Wei Yang and the others wouldn't be able to find him. As for how Hades knew about Longao's whereabouts, it was unknown. Perhaps only Hades knew. Nether Cliff. Wei Yang and the others arrived. Wei Mo walked out and sneered. "Longao, I already know you're here. You'd better obediently come out. Otherwise..." Whoosh! Before Wei Mo could finish speaking, a terrifying blade of light instantly arrived. If he hadn't dodged in time, this blade alone would have been enough to take his life. "Longao, you? Shut up, Wei Mo. Who do you think you are? Since you've found me, let's fight. What's with all this nonsense? Domineering." Looking at the domineering youth, everyone secretly gave him a thumbs up. Although they were enemies, this person's domineering and courage were indeed worthy of admiration. Ha! Hearing this, Wei Mo madly laughed at the sky as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. However, his face was full of disdain and ridicule. "You're courting death." Longao coldly looked at everyone in front of him. Without much nonsense, he suddenly took out a blood-red map from his bosom. It was the treasure of Nether Mansion, the Nether Blood Sea map. Others might not recognize the Nether Blood Sea map, but how could Wei Yang and the others not recognize it? Because of this, everyone's expression greatly changed. They seemed to have guessed something, but it wasn't very likely. Although the Nether Blood Sea map was incomparably powerful, it was sealed by a mysterious power. For countless years, many people had been unable to break the seal. Most importantly, the Nether Blood Sea map was placed in Breaking Soul Tower for a certain matter. As for this matter, only Hades and a few others knew. Even Wei Yang and the others didn't know. "Wei Yang, Wei Mo, do you recognize this item?" How could they not recognize it? The Nether Blood Sea map originally belonged to Nether Mansion. However, it was taken away by Longao. This matter had not only spread throughout Nether Mansion, but also the entire 9 states. The Nether Mansion had lost face. Everyone was furious. Wei Mo furiously said, "Longao, hand over the Nether Blood Sea map and I will consider sending your corpse back to 9 states. Otherwise, I will make you suffer a fate worse than death." Are you bragging? He didn't put Wei Mo in his eyes at all and even ignored him. This made Wei Mo even more furious. However, At this moment, Wei Yang waved his hand and said with a smile, Longao, things have already reached this point. I believe you should know that you can't leave here alive. Since that's the case, as long as you hand over the Nether Blood Sea map, I can guarantee that you will die a comfortable death. Moreover, your corpse will be sent back to 9 states. How about it? Chapter 733. Wei Yang and the rest did not put Longao in their eyes at all. In their view, Longao was already a turtle in a jar, dead for sure. But Wei Yang and the rest still had misgivings about Longao. If by any chance Longao threw the Nether Blood Sea diagram down Nether Cliff, then it would be a tragedy. Ignoring everyone, Longao opened the Nether Blood Sea diagram. At this time, the Nether Blood Sea diagram suddenly shot out a ray of blood light, directly enveloping everyone before waiting for everyone to react. The seal was broken. Everyone was shocked when they sensed the bloody energy. Wei Yang never thought that Longao could break the seal on the Nether Blood Sea diagram. Regarding the power of the Nether Blood Sea diagram, Wei Yang naturally knew clearly. Did not dare to have the slightest bit of carelessness. Wei Yang resisted the Nether Blood Sea diagram with all his strength. As a supreme Dao martial artist, Wei Yang's strength was there for all to see. The Nether Blood Sea diagram was forcefully sealed. Although Longao had already unlocked a trace of the Nether Blood Sea diagram with the help of Long Fu and the Blood Pool's power, wanting to deal with a supreme Dao martial artist, it was still a little insufficient. But at this time, the Nether Blood Sea diagram suddenly disappeared. Looking at the disappearing Nether Blood Sea diagram, Longao was greatly shocked. Especially seeing the black-clothed old granny suddenly appear in front of him, he instantly already knew what on earth happened. Until now, Longao still could not figure out why Hades wanted to deal with him. No matter what, Hades was Yi Yin's master after all. It was precisely so that Longao could not figure it out. You're Hades? Yi Yin's master? Could not see the expression on Hades's face, but Hades said, Longao, I'll give you a chance. Leave Yi Yin, henceforth, never see Yi Yin again, and I'll let you off today. Hearing Hades's words, everyone, including Wei Yang, was greatly shocked. The others did not know Hades, did not know where this old granny came from, and dared to be so presumptuous in front of the great ancestor. Who do you think you are? But the great ancestor did not say anything. Of course, the others dared not say anything. What right do you have? From beginning to end, Longao did not have a good impression of Hades, especially now. He was not a fool, of course, he understood what Hades's meaning. She undoubtedly wanted to separate him and Yi Yin. Longao's heart was very solemn. The strength of the underworld god was there for all to see. The weakest was at the celestial god level. Such a divine Dao martial artist, he was not a match at all. Longao, because I am Yi Yin's master. Hades was also helpless, because she had promised her disciple that no matter when and no matter what happened, she could not do anything to Longao. It was because of this that Hades was helpless, and could only rely on others to deal with Longao. In fact, Hades knew Longao's character very well. Hades had decided that no matter what, she would kill Longao and cut off Yi Yin's thoughts. Yi Yin's? I'm also Yi Yin's lover. Longao, do you know who I am? Hades, the mysterious master who took Yi Yin away. Longao, you're a smart man, so I won't say much. The Nether Mansions, I'm afraid that your dragon sect alone is no match for the Nether Mansion. Now that things have come to this, I'll tell you the truth. The sect behind me can easily crush your dragon sect. This was the truth. Not to mention the sect behind Hades, the Nether Mansion alone was more powerful than the dragon sect at this stage. Other than Longao and a few others, no one knew that the dragon sect had more than 1,000 divine Dao inheritances. If the news that Longao had more than 1,000 divine Dao inheritances spread, it would shake the entire spirit realm of the 9 states. After all, with more than 1,000 divine Dao inheritances, if they were lucky, there would be more than 1,000 divine Tao martial practitioners. More than 1,000 divine Tao martial practitioners. Not to mention the Nether Mansion, even the super forces behind the Nether Mansion would be wary. Seeing Longao's silence, Hades's heart skipped a beat. If Longao really agreed, wouldn't she have lost this opportunity? Hades, I'll let today's matter go because you're yinzizizizizis. But let me tell you, no matter what happens, I won't leave you, Ian. No one, not even you, can do that. Hearing Longao's words, Wei Yang almost laughed out loud. Others might not know Hades's identity and strength, but Wei Yang knew it too. Not to mention Longao, even he was nothing in front of Hades. One had to admit that Longao was arrogant to the extreme. Hades also snorted and said coldly, I gave you face, but you didn't take it. Although I promise you not to kill you, I can't stop others from killing you. Wei Yang, do it. After saying this, Hades's body suddenly disappeared. As for the Nether Blood Sea diagram, it was taken away by Hades. Longao was furious to the extreme, but he was powerless to do anything. Hades had taken the Nether Blood Sea diagram. With his own strength, he was no match for Hades, and he couldn't take it back from Hades. Wei Yang naturally didn't dare to disobey Hades's order. Waving his hand, the Netherworld Great Emperor and Great Emperor Wei Mo led more than 20 Great Emperors forward. They didn't care about the shameless act of bullying someone with numbers. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible for more than 20 Great Emperors to deal with Longao together. However, the current situation was different. In the eyes of the serene underworld mansion, Longao was too unpredictable. He had escaped from the serene underworld mansion 2 or 3 times. This time, they could not miss the opportunity. One could imagine the power of more than 20 great emperors working together. Even Longao didn't dare to fight against 20 great emperors alone. Because of this, Longao directly used spatial teleportation and disappeared from the spot. He didn't want to fight against the 20 great emperors head-on. It was this move again. Even though they knew that Longao would use this move, no one could control themselves. However, Wei Yang's lips curved into a cold smile as he quickly retreated. One had to admit that old ancestor Wei Yang was very strong, especially in terms of aura sensing. The moment Longao appeared, old ancestor Wei Yang locked onto his body. Without any hesitation, old ancestor Wei Yang charged forward. This time, Wei Yang clearly wanted to kill Longao. Every move was vicious and didn't give Longao any chance to escape. Previously, Wei Yang was still afraid that Longao had the Nether Blood Sea diagram. Now that the Nether Blood Sea diagram had been taken away by the god of the underworld, the god of the underworld attacked with all his might, preparing to end the battle quickly. With spatial teleportation, Longao escaped the encirclement of more than 20 great emperors. However, he was intercepted by Wei Yang. Longao cursed angrily and didn't fight Wei Yang head-on. Instead, he used spatial teleportation and disappeared once again. Just as Longao reappeared and was about to run away, a sudden pain came from his dantian. As if he had guessed something, Longao's expression changed. Chapter 734. Longao would never have thought that the 2 primal chaos tablets in his dantian would choose to fight at this moment. What he was afraid of really happened. With the 2 primal chaos tablets fighting, Longao had no choice but to appear. If he continued to teleport, Longao wouldn't have any more power to stop the 2 primal chaos tablets from clashing. It was extremely painful. Longao attacked with all his might, trying to separate the 2 primal chaos tablets. However, the 2 primal chaos tablets clashing this time seemed to be even more violent than the previous time. What should he do? At this moment, Wei Yang had brought all the great emperors over. Seeing Longao in such a state, everyone was curious as to what had happened to Longao. However, no matter what happened, Longao had to die. Wei Yang naturally wouldn't let go of such a rare opportunity. However, Wei Yang didn't attack. No matter what, he was still a supreme Dao martial artist. If he took advantage of someone's situation, it wouldn't sound good. Because of this, the person who personally took action was Great Emperor Wei Mo. The biggest reason for this was that Longao had killed Wei Batian, Wei Mo's son. The hatred of his son's death was irreconcilable. Everyone was stunned as they watched Wei Mo attack. Longao could clearly feel that Wei Mo was coming, but he couldn't do anything. This was because he knew clearly that if he attacked Wei Mo forcefully, he wouldn't have the power to separate the two primal chaos tablets. He would definitely be implicated in the battle between the two primal chaos tablets. There was a wolf in front and a tiger behind. At this moment of life and death, Longao had no choice but to deal with Wei Mo first. As for the battle between the two primal chaos tablets, he could only leave it to the heavens. He attacked with all his might, sending out a palm strike. The terrifying palm strike was like an avalanche that could topple mountains and overturn seas. There was a huge difference between a great emperor martial artist and a sage king martial artist. They weren't on the same level. However, Longao's situation was completely different. Longao used his innate ability, Longao's dragon roar. At the same time, a gigantic dragon phantom appeared behind Longao. Then, even the great emperors were locked down by Longao. Even the surrounding time began to flow backward. In just a few short seconds, Longao immediately used all his strength to separate the two primal chaos stone tablets. Longao, you're courting death! After being locked down, Wei Mo lost all his face. After forcefully breaking free from the lock, Wei Mo roared and charged towards Longao. Before he even arrived, his terrifying killing intent had already enveloped Longao. Plop! Because of the battle between the two primal chaos tablets, Longao didn't have the energy to fight back. He was sent flying by Wei Mo's palm strike. His body was like a kite with a broken string. With a plop, his body landed heavily on the ground. Under normal circumstances, Longao, who had the divine desolation body, could take a palm strike from a great emperor martial artist and stop in midair. However, the battle between the two primal chaos tablets had reached its climax. Longao couldn't resist at all. This was also because of the divine desolation body. Otherwise, this palm strike would have been enough to kill Longao. Forcefully enduring the pain in his body, Longao stood up resolutely. His complexion was ugly to the extreme. The two primal chaos stone tablets within his dantian were already fighting to the death. Who knew what would happen next? He didn't dare to be careless. Standing up, Longao turned around and prepared to teleport again. However, what made Longao feel extremely depressed was that he couldn't teleport at all. This was troublesome. Longao wasn't a fool. Without the help of teleportation, it would be difficult for him to escape this encirclement. Seeing Wei Mo coming for him again, Longao could only grit his teeth and counterattack. However, it was futile. Longao was no match for Wei Mo when he was at his peak, let alone now. Everyone was overjoyed when they saw the situation. Longao was finally going to die. One after another, the serene Nether Mansion's reputation had been thoroughly tarnished. Just as Wei Mo arrived in front of Longao and was about to kill him, the situation suddenly changed. Two rays of light shot out from Longao's body. One was blood red and the other was five-colored. The two rays of light were like two bolts of lightning, constantly entangling each other as if they were fighting. Others might not know, but how could Longao not know? These two rays of light were shot out from the two primal chaos tablets. There was no need to say how powerful they were. Wei Mo didn't seem to have expected this. However, he could feel that the two rays of light shooting out from Longao's body were too powerful. Not daring to meet them head-on, Wei Mo retreated. Kill! Since things had already reached this stage, Wei Yang couldn't let Longao go. With the word kill, more than 20 Emperor Realm cultivators rushed forward. What happened next made Wei Yang's expression change completely. Not to mention him, even Hades, who was hiding in the dark, didn't expect something to happen to Longao. Just these 2 rays of light alone were enough to make Wei Yang and the other Emperor Realm cultivators afraid to meet them head-on, let alone Emperor Realm cultivators. More than 20 Emperor Realm cultivators rushed forward, but before they could reach Longao, they were all sent flying. This was when the 2 rays of light were fighting. Otherwise, just 1 ray of light could easily kill more than 20 Emperor Realm cultivators. Taking advantage of this time, Longao turned around and fled. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared without a trace. Of course, no one would let Longao go. With a command, everyone chased after him. Only Wei Yang remained in the same place with an ugly expression. Lord Hades, what were the 2 rays of light that were released from Longao's body? Wei Yang could clearly feel that the 2 rays of light that shot out from Longao's body could easily kill him. Because of this, Wei Yang didn't know what had happened. Hades' figure appeared. Although his face couldn't be seen, Hades' murderous aura was very strong. Wei Yang, I'll say it again. No matter what, you have to kill this person. If you can't do it, you have to bear the consequences. Before Wei Yang could speak, Hades continued. I have something very important to do now. I will leave for a while. As for what happens, you can do as you see fit. After saying that, the underworld god's body disappeared without a trace. Looking at the empty hell cliff, Wei Yang's expression was very gloomy. Whether it was Longao or Hades, they were both people he had to kill. However, he couldn't do it in the current situation. Although he couldn't kill Hades, Wei Yang wouldn't let Longao go. However, Wei Yang was very afraid of the 2 rays of light that shot out from Longao's body. Because of this, Wei Yang sent out more than 20 Emperor Realm cultivators. In Wei Yang's heart, even if he lost a few Emperor Realm cultivators, it would be worth it as long as he could kill Longao. From this, it could be seen how much Wei Yang feared Longao. Chapter 735. Longao did not dare to relax in the slightest. He had never imagined that the 2 Chaos Steels would choose to fight at this time. The situation and crisis could be said to be on the verge of erupting. No one knew what the outcome of the battle between the 2 Chaos Steels would be. In any case, the slightest bit of carelessness would result in one's body exploding into pieces. Regarding this point, Longao knew it clearly, but he was powerless to do anything. Previously, when he forcefully separated the 2 Chaos Steels, Longao had planned to settle down and deal with the 2 Chaos Steels after dealing with the matter of the Nether Mansion. However, he had never imagined that the 2 Chaos Steels would fight at this time, catching him off guard. All the great emperors had arrived at the Nether Cliff, so there was not a single great emperor guarding the exit. Longao easily left the Nether Mansion. Only now did he heave a sigh of relief. Due to the battle between the 2 Chaos Steels in his body, his strength and everything else had greatly decreased. Not to mention great emperors, even cultivators below the Sky Saint realm would be difficult for him to deal with in his current situation. Leaving the Nether Mansion, Longao did not leave. Instead, he hid in the Nether City. Longao knew clearly in his heart that, according to the thinking of ordinary people, they would think that he would leave the serene Nether Mansion and not linger for even a second. It was because of this that Longao decided to go the other way. As expected, Great Emperor Wei Mo and the Netherworld Great Emperor led more than 20 Great Emperors out of the Nether Mansion. They did not even think before flying into the Nether City. The reason was simple. Everyone thought that Longao would not linger in the Nether City. Anyone who wasn't a member of the Nether Mansion would think the same thing. Stepping into the Nether City, Longao endured the pain in his body and immediately spent money to buy a huge mansion. He chased everyone out until he was the only one left in the mansion. He sat on the ground. Longao did not dare to be careless in the slightest. He immediately activated the 9-cycle reincarnation technique and the so-called Baron God body. He hoped that he could once again separate the 2 Chaos Stone Steels. Otherwise, there was only death awaiting him. The Primal Chaos Stone Tablet was the most powerful existence in the world. Although the 12 Chaos Stone tablets all came from the same Chaos Stone tablet, they complemented each other, and were like fire and water. If Longao hadn't been recognized by the 2 Chaos Stone tablets and had even comprehended the 5-element heaven-swallowing art, then he would have been caught up in the crossfire between the 2 Chaos Stone tablets. In other words, in the battle between the 2 Chaos Stone tablets, the 5 elements Chaos Stone tablets had already diverted some of their strength to protect Longao. Otherwise, just the 9 revolutions Samsara art and the desolate divine body wouldn't have been able to withstand the battle between the 2 Chaos Stone tablets. He didn't know if Longao was lucky or unlucky. In any case, even with the protection of the 5 elements Chaos Stone tablets, if this continued, Longao would still be caught up in the crossfire. This was unavoidable. After all, the other Chaos Stone tablet hadn't truly recognized Longao. Taking a step back, even if the other Chaos Stone tablet recognized Longao, the 2 Chaos Stone tablets would still fight. It wasn't something that Longao could control. Longao didn't dare to be careless. Just like this, Longao used all his strength to separate the 2 Chaos Stone tablets. The situation slowly entered a stalemate. Nether Mansion. Great Emperor Wei Mo and Netherworld Great Emperor led more than 20 Great Emperors in pursuit. Only old ancestor Wei Yang was left in charge of the Nether Mansion. Everyone knew about the grudge between the Nether Mansion and Longao. Everyone secretly admired Longao for provoking the Nether Mansion time and time again. If it was anyone else, would they dare to do so? But judging from the current situation, Longao still couldn't fight against the Nether Mansion. After all, the Nether Mansion was one of the 4 great forces of Spirit Realm in the 9 states. Its strength and foundation were too strong. No one knew that Longao was hiding in Nether City, right under the nose of the Nether Mansion. Even the people of the Nether Mansion wouldn't think of it. Although Longao had returned to the Nether Mansion time and time again, at this point, they wouldn't believe that Longao would dare to stay in Nether City. The most dangerous place was the safest place. It was fine to use it once or twice, but 3 or 4 times, it was as if he was courting death. Others didn't dare to do it, but Longao still took the risk. It was this courage that allowed Longao to avoid disaster. Otherwise, with his current situation, he would be dead for sure if he encountered the pursuers. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. The Nether Mansion sent out countless experts, but still couldn't find Longao's whereabouts. The Nether Mansion was as calm as before. Because of this, even a fool knew that Longao had avoided disaster. At this moment, inside the Nether Mansion's main hall, everyone's expression turned cold. The Great Nether Mansion, the #1 superpower of Spirit Realm in the 9 states, sent out countless experts to kill a single person, but returned without success. This was impossible in itself. But the truth was in front of them. Even if they didn't want to accept it, there was nothing they could do. Among them, the angriest was Wei Yang. The reason was simple. Before Hades left, he had made it clear that if they killed this kid, Hades would participate in the operation 3 years later. If they couldn't kill this kid, Hades wouldn't interfere. There was a big difference between Hades's participation and not. "Did you find him?" Hearing the cold voice of the old ancestor, the nearly 30 great emperors in the main hall, including Great Emperor Wei Mo and the Netherworld Emperor, all trembled, not daring to say a word. Not only did they not find Longao, they did not even find a single strand of hair. This in itself was a very shameful thing. Moreover, the old ancestor was currently in a fit of anger. At this time, who would dare to provoke him? Seeing that no one spoke, Wei Yang became even angrier. Slap, 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 slap. With Wei Yang's strength, everyone only felt their vision blur before a burning pain came from their faces. Even so, no one dared to fart. If it was an ordinary person, would they dare to slap a great emperor's face? This was especially so when the mansion master of the Serene Hell Mansion was among them, 2 titled great emperors. "Speak!" At this time, Great Emperor Wei Mo walked out in fear and said, "Old ancestor, When we chased after Longao, we already lost track of him. We split into 8 groups and chased after Longao at the same time, but he still escaped in the end. Waymo didn't finish his words in the end because he didn't know what to say. After all, Longao's spatial teleportation was too powerful. Not only in their hands, but even in the old ancestor's hands, he still disappeared. If even the old ancestor couldn't do anything, how could they succeed? Therefore, everyone thought that this matter wasn't their fault. Chapter 736. He took a deep breath. How could Wei Yang not know what everyone was thinking in their hearts? Although he knew that he couldn't blame anyone for not being able to find Longao, he still couldn't accept it. Especially when he thought about how he had offended Hades. In the vast 9 provinces, if Longao wanted to hide, even if they mobilized the entire Nether Mansion, they still wouldn't be able to find him. Trying to find a person in a sea of people was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Were they just going to let it go? Without his master's words, Wei Yang definitely wouldn't have let it go. However, the problem now was that his master had already said that they would go all out in 3 years. In other words, it was time for them to prepare. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable if they failed. This matter ends here. Everyone was shocked by the old ancestor's words. They thought that the old ancestor would continue to pursue this person, but why now? Longao had caused havoc in the Nether Mansion, provoking them time and time again. If the Nether Mansion stopped now, it would be seen as them being afraid of Longao. The Nether Mansion was already embarrassing enough. Now, it was even more embarrassing. No one dared to ask, but their faces were filled with curiosity and unwillingness. In the end, the Netherworld Emperor stood out. Old Ancestor, we want to know why. The 2 of you follow me. The rest of you, remember, this matter ends here. No one is allowed to bring it up again. Otherwise, you will be killed without mercy. Seeing that the old ancestor had made up his mind, all the great emperors left, leaving only the Netherworld Emperor and Emperor Waymo behind. The 2 of them followed the old ancestor to the back of the mountain. Nether City. After 3 days of continuous fighting, Longao had finally separated the 2 Chaos Steels temporarily. As for when the 2 Chaos Steels would fight again, it was unknown. In other words, he wouldn't be able to rest until the matter of the 2 Chaos Steels was resolved. He didn't know if it was a blessing or a curse to obtain 2 Chaos Steels at the same time. Then, he stood up and stretched his body. This time, it was extremely dangerous. Whether it was the pursuit of the Nether Mansion's great emperors or the battle between the 2 Chaos Steels, he had been pushed to the brink of death. Fortunately, his luck was not bad. After asking around, Longao was very suspicious. He didn't know what the Nether Mansion was up to. Under normal circumstances, he and Nether Mansion were like fire and water. Nether Mansion should have sent all their experts to hunt him down. But what was the result? Not only had the Nether Mansion not pursued him, but they had also disappeared. What was going on? Longao's intuition told him that there must be something fishy about the Serene Hell Mansion's actions. As for the reason, he did not know. Although he didn't know what the Nether Mansion was trying to do, Longao didn't want to continue tangling with it. If there weren't 2 Chaos Stone tablets, perhaps he would have continued. But the 2 Chaos Stone tablets had too many variables. Who knew when the 2 Chaos Stone tablets would start fighting? He didn't want to be in danger again. Longao did not linger and left Nether City in the afternoon. At this point, the enmity between Longao and the Nether Mansion could be considered to have come to an end. First of all, Wei Yang of Nether Mansion was preparing for the operation 3 years later. He didn't have time to deal with Longao. That was why the Nether Mansion stopped. Secondly, Longao didn't want to continue the matter because of the 2 Chaos Steels in his body. Although the matter between Longao and the Nether Mansion had come to an end, this time, it still shook the entire spirit domain of the 9 states. Now, everyone was talking about the matter between Longao and the Nether Mansion. Longao not only fought against the serene Hades Mansion, but also provoked the serene Hades Mansion again and again. He simply did not put the serene Hades Mansion in his eyes. If such a thing did not happen, it would be hard to believe. The dragon sect had disappeared, and Longao had caused havoc in Nether Mansion. No one knew what Longao and the dragon sect were up to. Many people guessed that Longao had been killed by Nether Mansion. Otherwise, there was no way Nether Mansion would let go of Longao's provocation. But the truth was that someone saw Longao leaving Nether City the next day. Whether it was true or not was not confirmed. Spirit Realm of the 9 States. Longao stood quietly in the barren land, looking at the black-robed old woman in front of him. Longao didn't look too good. Of course, he knew why Hades wanted to kill him. He wanted to sever all ties with Yuin. Was that possible? Longao, I promised Yuin that I wouldn't kill you. So you should kill yourself. Why should I kill myself? I still stand by my words. Yuin is mine. No matter who it is, no one can separate us. Ha! Hades's laughter was full of contempt and mockery. In her eyes, Longao was just an ant. Hades didn't put Longao in her eyes at all. It was just as Hades had said. If she hadn't promised Yui not to kill Longao, Longao wouldn't have had the chance to speak. In this aspect, Hades was a woman of her word. Longao, you're too arrogant. Although you're talented, you're still trash in my eyes. You're not worthy of Yuin. I'm not afraid to tell you that anyone who wants Yuin is 100 times stronger than you. What makes you think you can do that? Regarding some of Yuin's matters, Longao already knew about it through Tonglinger. With Yuin's current cultivation, she should be a great emperor at the very least. Furthermore, she had a lot of suitors. As for those so-called suitors, they were all geniuses and extremely powerful individuals. But so what? Longao didn't care about these people at all. He only knew one thing in his heart, and that was that no matter what happened, no matter when, Yuin would belong to him alone. Longao didn't say anything. He knew that if Hades wanted to kill him, she would have done it long ago. There was no need to talk nonsense here. Longao, don't think that you're very talented. It seems like you haven't given up. Alright, since you're so confident, I'll give you a chance. In 3 years I'll come back to find you. At that time, I'll take you to see Yuin. I just hope that you won't be scared to death, or that you won't dare to go. I'd like to see how many surprises you'll bring me. Before Longao could speak, Hades had already turned and left. In a short while, she had disappeared without a trace. 3 years, 3 years. It wasn't a long time, but it wasn't short either. To a warrior, 3 years was indeed not a long time. It was something that would pass in the blink of an eye. Longao knew very well that within 3 years, he would at least reach the great emperor realm. Chapter 737. Until now, Longao still didn't know what sect was behind Hades. To be able to control the Nether Mansion, it was obvious what it meant. Longao also discovered that the Nether Mansion and Hades seemed to be scheming something. However, all of this had nothing to do with him. Strength. In the end, everything depended on strength. As for everything else, it was all nonsense. Precisely because of this, Longao continued to strengthen the power that separated the 2 Chaos Tablets while cultivating with all his might, striving to advance to the peak of the Saint King realm. If he wanted to break through as quickly as possible, then there was only one way, and that was to comprehend the 9 Revolutions reincarnation technique as soon as possible. At the same time, Longao was also constantly comprehending the Tao of Divination and the Chaos Tablets. In the past, Longao didn't pay much attention to the Tao of Divination, but it was different now. He discovered a problem, and that was that once he comprehended the Tao of Divination, even if he couldn't calculate his own fate, he could at least calculate the fate of others. If he could comprehend the Tao of divination, at the very least, he could know in advance if something happened to his family. It was precisely because of this that Longao was very interested in the Tao of divination. However, the more sad he was, the greater the blow. The reason was simple. That was because no matter how hard Longao worked, he was still unable to comprehend the Tao of divination. This also made Longao more and more anxious. Earth movement technique. Longao roared. Following that, a shocking scene suddenly appeared in front of Longao. Layers of earth and yellow energy appeared around him. It was very terrifying. At this moment, the layers of earth and yellow energy formed a huge small space. The Xiantian spiritual beast inside didn't even have time to react before it was directly crushed by the earth and yellow space. Seeing this situation, Longao was immediately delighted. He never imagined that the earth movement technique would be so powerful. The gravity space formed by the power of the earth element was very powerful. It could be imagined that if one were to suddenly use the earth elemental art in a battle with the enemy, they would be able to win by surprise with the help of the gravity space. After cultivating the earth elemental art for such a long time, he finally had some gains. However, Longao was very clear that his current comprehension of the 5 elemental arts was only at the entry level. According to the records of the 5 elemental heaven-devouring art, once he cultivated all the 5 elemental arts to the pinnacle, even shattering the void and destroying the continent wouldn't be a problem. It was hard to imagine how powerful the 5 elements heaven-devouring art was. As expected of a super martial skill from the primal chaos stone tablet. However, although the 5 elements heaven-devouring technique was very powerful, it was not an easy task to truly cultivate it to its peak state. They complemented each other. Longao knew very well that it was impossible to cultivate any one of the 5 powers of the 5-element heaven-swallowing art to its peak state. There was only one way to cultivate the 5 elements heaven-devouring art to its peak, and that was to cultivate the power of the 5 elements at the same time. Only then would it be possible to roughly reach its peak state. The earth elemental art was at the entry level. Longao was prepared to take advantage of the victory and start to comprehend the so-called wood elemental art. Following that would be the so-called metal elemental art, water elemental art, and fire elemental art. The 5 elements heaven-devouring art, the Tao of divination, the primal chaos stone tablet, and cultivation were all done at the same time. This was also Longao. If it were anyone else, they would not be able to cultivate at the same time. There would only be one end result, and that was to completely collapse. Longao Peak. Today, Longao Peak was desolate. There was not even a shadow of a ghost. Longao returned smoothly. The entire dragon sect was in a state of excitement. Previously, Longao had selected 1,000 people to inherit the Shinto inheritance. According to the calculation of time and the individual talent, it would take at least 3 years. No one knew how long it would take. It was precisely because of this that the dragon sect did not dare to casually appear. Longao and the 4 major powers were like fire and water. If dragon sect appeared, the 4 major powers would not let it go. At this time, dragon sect would hide as much as possible. Aoer, I've heard about the matter between you and the Nether Mansion. Don't mind Grandpa's nagging. After all, the Nether Mansion is very powerful. Unless it's a foolproof situation, Grandpa hopes that you won't be so reckless in the future. How could Longao not know about Grandpa's worries? Before Longao could speak, a voice called out in his mind. His heart moved and he said, Grandpa, old ancestor is looking for me. I'll be back soon. Nodding, Longao immediately headed to the back mountain. Covered in a white light, he disappeared without a trace. Inside the cave. Old ancestor, you're looking for me? Aoer, I'm preparing to enter reincarnation in 3 days. This is my divine sense. In the future you can rely on it to find me. Remember, this must be kept a secret, especially with the Long family. Hearing the old ancestor's words, Longao was shocked. Because according to old ancestor's words, he still needed a long time to enter reincarnation. But now, old ancestor, what happened? Or, I have a premonition that something big will happen in the near future. At that time, the Long family will integrate all the Long family to deal with all the variables. Therefore, I must enter reincarnation in advance. I hope that I can make a breakthrough. So that's it. Longao of course knew about the grudge between Old Ancestor and the Long family. Longao also knew what it meant to enter reincarnation. Some people couldn't even succeed in one reincarnation. It was hard to imagine that the Old Ancestor had successfully entered 6 reincarnations. Especially Long Tian, who was a 9 reincarnation warrior. It was easy to imagine what kind of person Long Tian was. Old Ancestor, you must be careful. Don't worry, I've succeeded 6 times. I believe that this time, there shouldn't be any problems. Remember, when you find me, use your divine sense to help me activate my divine sense. Understood. Well, you can leave first. I'll prepare for reincarnation in 3 days, so you don't have to worry about me. Longao nodded and did not continue to stay because he knew that although the Old Ancestor looked so confident, he was actually very worried. After all, entering the reincarnation cycle was not a game. The slightest carelessness would cause one to fall into eternal damnation. Looking at Longao's departing figure, Long Baishan's expression was unknown. He sighed deeply and said to himself, "The Long family will face the biggest crisis in thousands of years. I hope that this time, the family won't be implicated. I must succeed in reincarnation. Otherwise, it's hard to change fate." If Longao was here and heard Long Baishan's words, he would definitely be suspicious. Because Long Baishan's words were very similar to what the divine mathematician had said. However, Longao didn't know all of this. Longao was also somewhat unprepared for Old Ancestor's sudden reincarnation. Chapter 738. Longao was caught off guard by the Old Ancestor's sudden decision. But Longao knew that since the Old Ancestor had made such a decision, she definitely had her reasons. Tianwu continent, beside an extremely beautiful lake. Aoshua sat quietly beside the lake, her eyes blurred as she looked at the ripples on the surface of the water. "Aoshua, are you still thinking about him?" Without even looking back, Aoshua already knew who had come. Nodding, Aoshua sighed and said softly, "Mother, could it be that we really can't be together?" A beautiful young woman slowly walked over from behind Aoshua. She looked 60 to 70% similar to Aoshua. This young woman was none other than Aoshua's mother, the Ghost King's wife. She was also in existence with the highest bloodline in the Phoenix race. Looking at her daughter's haggard face, Luing felt an indescribable pain in her heart. Sighing deeply, Luing said, "Aoshua, you should know that our statuses are different. We have the purest bloodline of the Phoenix race, so the Phoenix race will not allow us to mate with humans." "Why is that?" "Don't ask. This is the rule of the Phoenix race." Speaking of this, Lu Ying's face was filled with longing and guilt. She slowly said, "Back then, if it weren't for me staying with the Phoenix race, you and Tianji would already be dead." Aoshua was very angry and also very unwilling. She already knew why she had appeared in the Phoenix race. Although she was happy to see her mother, Aoshua also knew that she had also lost herself and her lover. "Mother, what should I do now?" "Aoshua, listen to mother's advice. It's best if you don't go looking for Longao. Otherwise, he'll definitely die." Afraid that her daughter would not listen, Luing continued, "The Phoenix race is the strongest existence in the Tianwu continent. It's even above the dragon race. If it weren't for the fact that there are so few of them, I'm afraid that in the entire continent, no one would be a match for the Phoenix race." Of course, Ao Shui knew the strength of the Phoenix clan very well. It was because of this that she became more and more sad. Could it be that she and Long Ao were not fated to be together? He was unwilling to accept this. He was very unwilling to accept this. Aoshua would never forget Long Ao, even if it meant death. Aoshua was not afraid of death, but she was afraid that Longao would offend the Phoenix clan for her. Although she was very confident in Longao's talent and potential, no matter what, Longao would never be able to compete with the Phoenix clan. Aoshue, since you possess the royal bloodline, you must sever your emotions. Otherwise, you will only harm yourself and others. Mother, I can't accept this. Mother knows, but what can I do? If I had the slightest idea, I wouldn't have left your father back then. All these years I've been missing you all the time, but I didn't dare to look for you. If the Phoenix clan sent someone to kill you, I wouldn't have a good life. Aoshue had a rough understanding of her mother's strength. With her mother's strength, not to mention the 4 major forces in the Jojo continent, even the Dragon clan, the Long family, the Heaven and Earth sect, and the Wansho sect were no match for her mother. Even so, her mother still didn't dare to look for her father because she was afraid that the Phoenix clan would kill her father. From this, one could imagine how powerful the Phoenix clan was. If even her mother couldn't, there was no way she could. Could it be that she really wouldn't be able to see Longao in this life? Aoshue, not only can you not interact with Longao anymore, if there are no accidents, the clan will use all their strength to cultivate you and make you the holy maiden of the Phoenix clan. At that time, no matter who it is, no one will be able to get close to you. Even if it is because of the Phoenix clan, Longao will not be able to get close to you. Mother, I was just about to ask you this. With your bloodline and strength, why can't you become the saintess of the Phoenix clan? Speaking of this, not only did Lu Ying's expression return to normal, but it was also filled with determination and joy. This made Aoshue very curious. She didn't know what was going on with her mother. Aoshue, you don't know. Although you and I both have the purest bloodline of the Phoenix clan, we have to maintain our virginity. Pfft. Without waiting for Lu Ying to finish her words, Aoshue suddenly laughed. Aoshue, what are you laughing about? Lu Ying seemed to have thought of something and asked impatiently. Aoshue, tell mother, are you still a virgin? Aoshue naturally wouldn't hide anything from her mother, especially under such circumstances. Nodding her head, Aoshue told her mother everything that happened between her and Longao. When she spoke of this, her face was filled with joy and happiness. Seeing this situation, Lu Ying felt helpless. This was because she had made the same mistake back then. Otherwise, she would be the saintess of the Phoenix clan now. Because of this, Lu Ying didn't blame her daughter. She only said worriedly, "You're no longer a virgin. If the Phoenix clan finds out about this, you'll be in trouble. I have to think of a way to remedy this." Looking at her mother's serious expression, Aoshue didn't care. Life or death didn't matter. After all, if she couldn't be with Longao, what was the point of living? Mother, we have the Phoenix bloodline. Will we really become phoenixes in the future? This was what Aoshue was most concerned about. Yes, but the chances are very small. Aoshue, you have to know that ordinary phoenixes don't matter. Once you and I become phoenixes and become true phoenixes, we'll be the greatest phoenixes in the world. However, the chances are very small. She finally let out a sigh of relief. Aoshue didn't want to become a phoenix. She only had one wish, and that was to live and die with Longao. They would never leave each other and be together forever. As for anything else, it was all nonsense. I believe that Longao will come personally to marry me one day. Would he? Looking at her daughter's expectant face, Lu Ying didn't want to discourage her. This was because in Lu Ying's opinion, in this world, unless there were a few people, no one would come to the Phoenix clan. It was simply courting death. However, things had already come to this point. It wasn't necessarily a bad thing for her daughter to have hope in her heart. Aoshue, get ready. I'm here this time because the clan has already passed down an order. I'll bring you to see the clan leader later. If nothing goes wrong, you'll meet the ancestor of the Phoenix clan, the immemorial Phoenix. If you can become his disciple, then you'll have a chance to be with Longao in the future. Do you understand? Lu Ying was obviously lying. If she became the disciple of the immemorial phoenix, then she wouldn't even have the last chance. However, Lu Ying had to do this. She wanted her daughter to have a glimmer of hope in her heart. Nodding, Aoshua slowly stood up and said leisurely, "Mother, I understand. I'll work hard. No matter what, Longao and I will be together in the future. Life and death will never change." Chapter 739. Somewhere in the Tianwu continent. In the dark space, Yu Yin's figure shuttled back and forth between the mountains. At this moment, many black monsters appeared from all directions. They were all great emperor-level spiritual beasts, and were very terrifying. The current Yu Yin was no longer the domineering woman from before. She was a calm and powerful female martial artist. Ever since she entered the mysterious place, Yu Yin's cultivation had broken through to the great emperor realm in just a few months. However, she was still a distance away from the titled Great Emperor realm. Although she had not broken through to the titled Great Emperor realm, Yu Yin was very powerful. There were hundreds of spiritual beasts in all directions, but they were still unable to do anything to Yu Yin. With the protection of the Sex Divine weapon, Yu Yin was like a tiger that had grown wings. Kill! Yu Yin's eyes gradually turned red, and her body was filled with killing intent. If Longao saw Yu Yin at this moment, he might not even recognize her. Yu Yin struck out with both her palms. At most, she would need 3 moves to kill the Great Emperor spiritual beasts. In just a few minutes, hundreds of Great Emperor spiritual beasts were killed by Yu Yin. Not a single one was left alive. Standing in the dark space, Yu Yin looked around coldly and muttered to herself, "I will be able to break through to the titled Great Emperor realm in at most 1 year. 3 years. Within 3 years I must break through to the Supreme Tao realm." Strong confidence made Yu Yin look even more charming. If it was said that the Yu Yin of the past gave people the feeling of a domineering woman, then the current Yu Yin was a mysterious feeling. There was an indescribable feeling. The 2 most important women in Longao's life were Aoshua and Yu Yin. Aoshua was from the Phoenix clan and had the purest bloodline. However, she could not control herself. She could not even be with the person she loved. Yu Yin was a member of the mysterious sect and had the strongest body constitution. However, she could not control herself. Similarly, she could not even be with the person she loved the most. Thinking about it, Yu Yin and Aoshua could not control themselves. They could not be with Longao. Longao, who was far away, stayed in the dragon sect alone and thought of the 2 people he loved the most. Longao Peak, underground. "Aoshua, Yu Yin, how are you?" Longao sighed deeply. After being separated for so long, Longao missed the 2 very much. However, Longao knew very well in his heart that with his current strength, it was impossible for him to find the 2 of them. Aoshua was from the Phoenix clan. If he had not sent Aoshua back to the Phoenix clan in time, Aoshua would have fallen into a coma for the 9th time. At that time, even the almighty immortal would not be able to save Aoshua. Although he was very reluctant, Longao could only send Aoshua back to the Phoenix clan for the sake of Aoshua's safety. As for Yu Yin, from the beginning to the end, Longao did not know where Yu Yin went. He only knew that Yu Yin was taken away by the underworld god. As for where she was taken to, he still did not know. In other words, whether it was Aoshua or Yu Yin, he would not be able to see them for the time being. Strength. In the end, what he lacked the most was strength. If he had super strength, then whether it was Aoshua or Yu Yin, he could successfully find them. "Ao, or do you miss them?" Looking at his mother, Longao knew who she was talking about. He nodded. In front of his mother, Longao would always be a child. Sigh, the world is unpredictable. Mother also did not expect that the 2 people you like would be like this. Ao, or what do you plan to do? Mu Lin was very worried. She knew the relationship between her son, Aoshua, and Yu Yin very well. "If you don't leave, I will stay by your side in life and death." This love was enough to move heaven and earth. It was because of this that Mu Lin had no intention of breaking up the three of them. But Mu Lin knew very well that if her son did not handle this matter well, the consequences would be unimaginable. One was from the Phoenix clan, the strongest clan in the world, while the other had gone to a mysterious sect, which was also an extremely powerful existence. Mother, don't worry, I won't do anything rash. I will cultivate in seclusion with all my strength. If I don't break through the great emperor realm, I will definitely not look for Aoshue and Yuin. Hearing this, Mu Lin finally heaved a sigh of relief, but she still said worriedly, Aor, Mother knows that the feelings between you two cannot be separated, but Mother wants to tell you one thing. No matter what, you have to take care of yourself. Do you understand? Regarding the worry in his mother's heart, Longao naturally knew clearly. Longao nodded and did not say anything because he did not know what to say. His mother was not a fool. She definitely knew how dangerous it was for him to look for the two of them. Mother, you and Father have already received the Divine Tao inheritance. No matter what, I will help you break through the Divine Tao realm. Longao gave one of the 1,000 over Divine Tao inheritances to each of his parents. This was because Longao did not know when he would leave the sect. If his parents did not have a strong foundation, they would not be at ease even if they left. It was because of this that Longao gave one of the 1,000 over Divine Tao inheritances to everyone in the family. He hoped that all of his relatives could become Divine Tao warriors. Mu Lin nodded. Of course, she knew what Aor meant. She said, Don't worry, your father and I will choose to cultivate in seclusion later. I hope we can break through to the Divine Tao warriors. If it was the Mu Lin of the past, she would definitely not know what a Divine Tao warrior was. However, at this moment, Mu Lin clearly knew what a Divine Tao warrior meant. As the strongest existence in the world, if she could become a Divine Tao warrior, then she would have the power to protect herself and let Aor have less to worry about. His parents and everyone else chose to cultivate in seclusion. The entire dragon sect would not appear in front of everyone for a short period of time. Longao had already decided that within 3 years, or even 5 years, the dragon sect would not appear. After all, if everyone could not refine the Divine Tao inheritances, even if they went out, it would be troublesome. After sending his mother away, Longao did not waste any time. He began to cultivate and comprehend the chaotic stone tablet, the way of divination, and the so-called 5 elements heaven swallowing technique. Beginner Saint King. The next thing to do was to think of all ways to become a peak Saint King in the shortest time possible. This way, he could advance towards Saint Emperor. Saint King, Saint Emperor, Saint Venerable, Saint Emperor. Above Saint King, there were still 3 whole realms to prepare for breaking through to Great Emperor. Although it was only a short 3 realms, Longao clearly knew that it was not an easy task to advance from a beginner Holy King all the way to the peak of the Holy Emperor realm. Although he was confident in his talent, Longao knew that it would take at least 3 years to break through to Saint Emperor. In other words, 3 years later, he could set off to find Yuin. Chapter 740. Everything was so calm. The grudge between Longao and the serene underworld mansion seemed to have been written off. Both the Longao and the serene underworld mansion were quiet. Under normal circumstances, Longao had provoked the Netherhell mansion time and time again. With the Netherhell mansion's reputation and strength, they definitely wouldn't let Longao go. But now, the serene underworld mansion didn't continue to deal with Longao. Everyone was curious as to what the serene underworld mansion was up to. If the serene underworld mansion didn't do anything, the other 3 forces wouldn't do anything either. In the Imperial City, the Rank 3 Long family and the Ethereal Palace were also quite depressed about this matter. The 3 forces thought that even if the battle between Longao and the serene underworld mansion couldn't end in mutual destruction, at least Longao would die and the serene underworld mansion would be severely injured. This way, the three forces would be able to reap the benefits. What made everyone curious was, where had the dragon sect gone? 3 days later, Long Batian had successfully entered the reincarnation path, but it was unknown whether he would succeed. Longao held the old ancestor's divine sense in his hand. According to the old ancestor, he would need at most 5 or even 3 years to find the old ancestor's reincarnated body. As for where the old ancestor would enter the reincarnation path, it was unknown. It wouldn't be easy to find the old ancestor's reincarnated body in the vast continent. Longao didn't continue to dwell on this problem. He knew that it would take at least 3 years to find the old ancestor. The most important thing now was to cultivate and improve his strength. Thousands of people in the dragon sect were cultivating in seclusion to refine the divine Tao inheritance. Even if he stayed, it would be useless. Longao discovered one thing, and that was that cultivating in seclusion all the time did not have much benefit. Because of this, Longao prepared to leave the sect and go out to gain experience. He wanted to break through to the great emperor realm in the shortest time possible. Crimson Province. The 99 Steps. Longao prepared to continue climbing to the top of the 99 steps. This time, Longao did not want to see Iguru. He only wanted to continue to test the pressure of the 99 steps and see if it was beneficial to his cultivation. Right now, there was not a single person on the 99 steps of the celestial stairway. The reason was simple. Ever since the 4 great forces withdrew from the spirit domain of the 9 states and the dragon sect took over the Crimson Province, although it was clearly stated that everyone had the opportunity to come and try the 99 steps of heaven, with the continuous war between the dragon sect and the 4 great forces, there were constantly people from the 4 great forces mixed in. In desperation, the Ghost King could only order to completely seal off the 99 steps of heaven. Longao didn't know about this. The Ghost King's intention was actually very simple. He wanted to wait for the dragon sect to deal with the 4 great forces before opening the 99 steps to heaven. Longao had already successfully stepped onto the top of the 99 steps twice, so the third time was not very difficult. He just wanted to give it a try. However, Longao never thought that even stepping onto the 99 steps of heaven for the third time would have considerable benefits for his cultivation. Just like that, Longao climbed again and again. His cultivation also broke through from the beginner Saint King to the intermediate Saint King. However, he was stuck at the advanced Saint King and was unable to break through. Unknowingly, 10 days had passed. Longao realized that his cultivation had stagnated again. Even if he continued to climb the 99 steps of heaven, it would probably be very difficult for him to break through to the advanced Saint King. On the 11th day, Longao's expression suddenly changed. Because he realized that there were suddenly many people around him. Almost all of them were disciples of the 4 great forces. It seemed that the 4 great forces could not hold back in the end. According to the previous situation, ever since the 4 great forces withdrew from the spirit domain of the 9 states, they had not stepped in again for such a long time. But now, the dragon sect had disappeared for no reason. After repeated confirmation, the 4 great forces finally prepared to enter the 9 states. The first was to occupy the so-called 99 steps of heaven. The 4 great forces still had not given up on the 9 states. Longao naturally knew why the 4 great forces were clinging on to the 9 states. The reason was very simple. It was because of the grave of the gods. But the grave of the gods was not in the 9 states at all. It was in the city of Sin in the spirit domain of the 9 states. Regarding this matter, other than Longao, the 4 great forces did not know at all. Hence, the 4 great forces still did not forget to dominate the 9 states and search for the so-called grave of the gods. Taking a step back, even if the grave of the gods was found by the 4 great forces, it would be for naught. Because the thousands of divine path inheritances in the grave of the gods had all been taken away by Longao. He snorted coldly. Longao did not feel the slightest bit surprised about the disciples of the 4 great forces suddenly entering the Crimson State. However, he would not let the four great forces off so easily. But this time, Longao did not make a move on these so-called ordinary disciples. The reason was very simple. As his cultivation level continued to rise, Longao's state of mind also gradually changed. No matter what, this was a grudge between him and the four great forces. It had nothing to do with the ordinary disciples. It was also because of this that the ordinary disciples of the four great forces could be considered to have dodged a calamity. Not continuing to stay on the 99 steps, Longao got up and left. Next, Longao prepared to continue to the spirit domain of the 9 states. In other words, he would officially start a war with the four great forces. Longao had already thought it through. He would leave the 9 states sooner or later to find Yuyin. If he could not deal with the four great forces, then he would always leave behind trouble for the sect. In other words, before he left, he had to deal with the four great forces of the spirit domain of the 9 states. The spirit domain of the 9 states had a total of 4 great forces. They were the Eastern Imperial City, the Western Third Grade Long Family, the Southern Nether Mansion, and the Northern Ethereal Palace. The Nether Mansion's strength was unfathomable. They also had the support of a mysterious sect behind them. Hence, Longao decided to deal with the Imperial City, Ethereal Palace, and the Third Grade Long Family first. As for the so-called Nether Mansion, he would deal with it later. The spirit domain of the 9 states. This time, Longao did not come alone. Instead, he came with millions of corpse slaves. Moreover, he came openly and did not put the four great forces in his eyes. Because of this, everyone was shocked. They did not know what Longao wanted to do. After all, Longao had just been chased by the Nether Mansion. Now that he appeared openly in the spirit domain of the 9 states, was he not afraid that the Nether Mansion would continue to pursue him? Not to mention others, even the four great forces were shocked. They did not know what Longao wanted to do. Could it be that Longao wanted to fight the four great forces alone? If it was someone else, no one would believe it. Everyone would think that they were courting death. However, Longao was different. Those who understood Longao knew what kind of personality he had. He was a typical person who was not afraid of death. Even so, the Imperial City, the Third Grade Long Family, and the Ethereal Palace did not move. These 3 great forces were waiting to watch a good show. According to the grudge between Longao and the Nether Mansion, they believed that the Nether Mansion would not let him go so easily after he entered the spirit domain of the 9 states. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.